Yes, me, that beat's kind of catchy. Maybe that's just me. Good day, everybody. Happy Monday. We've made it through the weekend, which is always unfortunate. But here we are again on Monday. At least it's a short week for some of you. Not for me. I'm working all the way through Friday. And, you know, first responders and everybody always have to work all the way through Friday. So find it hard to complain. So I thank you to all those who will be working all the way through the holiday season, no matter what you're doing. I feel your pain. Tucker feels your pain. All of us that are going to be here all day feel your pain. All right, speaking of that, we're going to do weather forecast for the week ahead. We got travel weather coming up. What's up, Wiz?
What's up, Mike?
You ripped Kevin apart on that that movie review.
You know what? Save your money.
Wiz says save your money on Justice League. All right, we'll hit the holiday forecast. We'll hit the we'll hit what's going on Thanksgiving Day, and then we'll look a little bit beyond. So let's get started. We'll have a good time live. Look back at the White House this morning. It's nice out. It's cold, though, and it is windy. Wind chills are still down in the 30s this morning with lots of sunshine. So that's at least good news. Take a live look at the Capitol, and that'll show you the blue skies. We were just out front here as we had turkey brought into the studio today. And we saw very few in the way of clouds, but a decent amount or we certainly felt the cold air that was in place. All right, let's bring it back inside here. Take a look at what's going on first. Nice little thing or cool little thing that NASA caught this morning was the Superdome or the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. They blew it up. They demolished it last night or early this morning. And you can see watch your screen. This is from NASA's Twitter. Watch your screen right there. You can see right there that little plume of smoke. One of the satellites actually picked up that plume of smoke from this morning. So I thought that was kind of cool. Cool little thing I found last night. Other than that, I am on sort of like, same satellite that caught this is this one right here. We'll quickly look across let me refresh, make sure we're getting the latest look. Generally speaking, guys, across the nation today, if you're in the east, high pressure is just dominating just down to our south. So that's keeping everyone kind of north of this line and west of this line. They're dealing with cloud cover, and you know you're mixing the Gulf warm air with some cooler air coming from the north and from the east there down to the south and getting some cloud cover. But generally speaking, it's dry air in place, and that means sunny conditions are going to dominate today. And a good part of tomorrow, I think we'll mix with more clouds tomorrow, but a good amount of sunshine still coming up for you Tuesday, and warmer temps, and we'll talk about that in just a minute. First, let's do a little snow update. Snow lover here. Do have some snow west along the mountains there of Garrett County through West Virginia. High elevation and westward facing slopes only. And then you got good snows up through New York. You had the lake effect machine cranking over the weekend, particularly yesterday, Saturday night into yesterday. And in fact, I was driving up 29 north through central Maryland yesterday about 8 o'clock at night, and there was something coming down. It was hitting the windshield as raindrops, but I couldn't tell if there was a flake or two mixing in there, even though temperatures last night were in the 40s. The air above our head is cold enough that wouldn't necessarily melt as it came down. Hey, what's going on, Kathy? Happy Monday to you as well. So I'm not sure if we had we didn't report it at any of the airports, but I certainly had folks tell me on Facebook that they saw some snowflakes out towards the I-81 corridor. Some first flakes of the year for some of our friends to the west. Still haven't really had it here in D.C. I'd like to see it. Don't think we're going to see it here in the short term, which is actually good news for those of you traveling. All right, let's do, how about a ski resort update? Here's something we don't do too much. This is webcam out of Ski Whitetail. That's Whitetail Resort. Not looking too good, I admit that. And the other really popular one near here is Ski Liberty. And that's what Ski Liberty looks like right now. So not a lot of snow there. However, let's go to the map here. And Ski Liberty, I believe, is out here. I believe Ski Liberty is out here. And what were the two? It was Ski Liberty and Ski Whitetail. So Liberty and Whitetail on the map are out in that general area. Whereas the problem with them is that they're kind of on the eastern edge. The high highest mountain peaks are kind of right up through there, so they're east of the highest mountain peaks. If you go west of the highest mountain peaks, like I said on the snow map, westward facing slopes got some snow. There's Wisp. Seven Springs is right there. And here's what Wisp looks like right now, straight off their trail cams. Yeah, we're blowing snow out to the west, and they got a decent amount on their trails. There you go, cams rotating around for you. That looks ready to ski. I don't think they're open yet, but they're trying their best to get it ready for ski, and they should have good temperatures through today and then into tomorrow morning at least to get some snow blowing going, and then tomorrow afternoon they'll have to shut it off. It's going to get a little mild for at least a day, but then later on this week, Thanksgiving holiday, Friday, maybe a break on Saturday, but then Sunday they can, and next Monday they can blow more snow. So nice to see. I go to Seven Springs a lot because it's right on the way to my grandparents up in Pittsburgh. So we stop there sometimes and ski, and yeah, you got some snow. Once again, I don't think they're open just yet. Don't see any skiers or snowboarders. When they are open, sometimes you can see them coming down the trail there, but haven't seen any this morning, and still seeing some bare spots there on the trail. But they're trying their best to get things set for opening day, which should be soon. I'm used to them opening in December, in early December. So we'll see. Hopefully they're heading. It hasn't been the best. Last year was not the best ski season in the Northeast. So so far so good in terms of a nice early start to them being able to put some snow down across portions of the Northeast. All right, what are the odds of a white Thanksgiving here? This is from the National Weather Service, and according to them, if you live in D.C., not so good, under 5% chance. But if maybe you're heading up towards Buffalo, New York, a little higher, 40 to 60% chance because the lake affects snow. And if you're visiting family up well to the north here, across maybe even north of, maybe you have some friends who live right in, forget what the town is, right there, St. Marie maybe, right on the edge of Canada. Yeah, you get a little better of a chance, 80 to 90%. And then out to the west, obviously, Rocky Mountains, you got a decent shot. But compared to, say, Christmas, the odds are significantly lower. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think a large majority of this area in blue, I think maybe 5% of that is going to see snow on Thanksgiving Day. And it'll only be, a few lake effect streamers coming off. But for the most part, I think we're heading for a pretty quiet Thanksgiving forecast here. Let's go to the model and you can see what I'm talking about. And back it up. This is today. Again, high pressure is just dominating here. It's going to be moving eastward tomorrow. And as it does that, we're going to start to kick up a southwest wind, and that's going to warm us up a bit. Tomorrow morning is going to start chilly here in D.C. Tomorrow afternoon, near 60. Maybe if we're lucky, we can crack 60 degrees, but it will only be for a few hours in the afternoon. And then we start getting cooler at night again. They're not as cold as previous nights, as again high pressure continues to kind of slide off to the east here, and by Wednesday or by Tuesday afternoon it's out here. You're turning winds out of the southwest, and that's a good direction for us in terms of warmth. We get into Wednesday, things get a little trickier, and we did bring showers into the forecast at least during the early morning hours of Wednesday for this reason. You got a cold front sliding in from the north and west. That's that blue line right there. And at the same time, you've got a little weak area, tropical-ish in nature, but not really. We're 10 days away now from the official end of hurricane season. It's just got some tropical moisture with it, but it's not a tropical storm. It's not a tropical depression. It's not anything like that. But it's putting enough moisture in the atmosphere that, watch as we get into the early hours of Wednesday, and this is. Let's see, this is 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning. You can see it right there at the bottom of your screen. Again, weak area, low pressure coming up right there, and cold front slamming in. The cold front's going to force air to rise, so you're getting excess moisture coming up. And basically, it's ingredients for showers. So if you're an early riser on Wednesday and trying to jumpstart your travel, or maybe you have an early morning flight out of the D.C. region on Wednesday morning, just be aware that probably some showers around. This model likes it, another model doesn't. I like the European, it tends to be right. So just to let you know, if you're an early riser, you could see some showers. But we get to 1 o'clock, now 1 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesday, and we're clearing things up already. There's us here in D.C. clearing it up. Showers are pushing off to the north and west. And we'll mention the travel day forecast here for the afternoon hours of Wednesday. In fact, let me pull that up right now. Here's your travel forecast for Wednesday afternoon, which is kind of key because I do think it'll rain here in the morning, but by Wednesday afternoon we're breezy, we're sunny, temperatures are dropping, but we should be dry here and fine for travel. If you're getting a head start, maybe you're waiting till Wednesday evening after you're off work, you're going to be just fine. It's just the early morning hours. If you're flying out 5, 6, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, there could be some showers around. I don't know if it's enough to cause delays flight-wise. I doubt it. It doesn't look like anything too extreme. But, you know, if you're driving anywhere around the Beltway, if you're planning your trip to the airport, you know how the Beltway likes to lock up with some rainy weather. So just be aware of that. If you're flying north and west, Portland, Seattle, they have a decent shot of some showers and possibly even some steadier rains out there, so be aware that could affect your travel plans. Extreme Gulf Coast, just hit and miss thunderstorms, nothing big there. And then north and east of here, a lake effect snow shower can't be ruled out, but that's more towards the evening of Wednesday than the morning. And then showers through New York and Boston. What we get here in the morning, New York and Boston, we'll get through the afternoon. So just be aware that the afternoon, if you're traveling up to the north along I-95, could be a little bit on the wet side. All right, bring it back into the weather model world. Moving on, there's your snowfall forecast through your travel day on Wednesday. So again, nothing too extreme there. You're getting a few, and this is just because it's cut off at the end there. I got to make sure that when I use these free sites, I give them shout outs so they don't yell at me. Pivotal Weather is what I use to generate this image. And this is, I believe, the North American model we're looking at. It's got a little bit of snow. If you're driving up maybe through I-60, I believe that's 68 that goes out western Maryland, just be aware if you hit the highlands of the mountains there, the westward-facing slopes, there may be some fresh snow on the ground, but it doesn't look like anything too extreme. That light shade of blue there is only an inch of snow. And again, that's only for elevated areas, the highest kind of peaks there. So I don't think there's any major travel issues with the snow. Now, if you're going north, if you're maybe hitting Pittsburgh and traveling north towards Erie or north towards Buffalo, you may run into inch and a half of snow, though, again, I don't think they've been colder up there, but I don't think it cold enough that it's causing major roadway issues. Just don't let it surprise you if you're driving up through New York and Pennsylvania and you will run into some of the white stuff on the ground. Will be a little bit of snow there with the winds coming across the lakes like that. You'll kick off some streamers, because remember, the lakes still far too warm to be frozen this time of year, and it's lake effect snow season, November and early December, up until we get some ice covering the lakes. All right, let's talk about, this is, I believe, travel day. This is the, let's see, the 22nd. So yes, this is travel day temps. Again, cold front sliding through. In fact, let me get rid of that. Cold front sliding through the northeast here. Will be a little, will be warmer to start the day than we will be to finish it. Or temperatures are going to be dropping much of the day, just like they did on Sunday here in Washington, with a gusty northwest wind. Again, you see temperatures generally north and east, or north and west of here, are in the 30s. Up through Pennsylvania and New York. So just be aware, pack your winter clothes. You're traveling north, it's going to stay chilly all the way through the Thanksgiving holiday. Big area high pressure dropping into the plains. Again, on this side of high pressure, you get the cold side, and on this side of high pressure, you get the warm side. And look at the 60s up through Denver, up through even into Montana. They're going to be upper 50s and 60s, while we're going to end up being on the cold side of things, just because that's the way things are setting up for this Thanksgiving. Sometimes it happens this way, sometimes it doesn't. Good thing is we're not going to be like Canada here, that's just ice cold, and they've been ice cold for the past few weeks up there. And it's the occasional shot coming down from the north and from the west that's been giving us these cooler days of late. All right, let's talk Thanksgiving weather now. Let me go back here. Working our way through Thursday. Again, it looks quiet. It looks really quiet, actually. Here's Thursday morning. I mentioned on the other map, nice big area of high pressure right through the center of the country. That's keeping. That's going to keep the northwest flow going. But high pressure means H means happy. H means sunshine. And there'll be a decent amount of it. I do think we'll have some mixing issues a little bit above our head with some warm air coming in, and above our head we got cold air at the surface. So we'll have a few clouds around on Thanksgiving Day. It's not an overly overcast day, but it's not a perfectly sunny day. And it's definitely a chilly day, that I can guarantee. as we head through your day on Thursday. Beyond Thursday, things start to warm up into Black Friday. But again, let me back it up. This is 4 o'clock dinner time for me, because I know a lot of people do the early Thanksgiving dinner thing. I mean, look how much of the country is quiet. Really, you got to go Pacific Northwest, scattered showers. But and then like through Florida, southern Georgia, South Carolina, maybe a little bit of thunderstorm activity. But that big black box I just highlighted, weather looks quiet according to both this model and the American model. Both show things pretty quiet. So the only thing we have for Thanksgiving Day, and let me pull up Thanksgiving Day here across the country, is a chance of thunderstorms down through Florida. That's typical, right? And then some rain possible, especially for coastal regions. Seattle, Portland, again, that's just this time of year for them. It's definitely their rainy season, and they're certainly getting the rains even into the Thanksgiving holiday. Things could be a little wet there. But if you're traveling anywhere else, or if you're having your Thanksgiving dinner out to in Denver, if you're having Thanksgiving dinner St. Louis, Chicago, the only difference will be the temperature, but there should be a lot of sunshine out there through the midsection of the country. Again, I think Northeast, D.C., Philly, New York, Boston, I think we mix out with some clouds from time to time. And we're cold, that's for sure. But other than that, I think we're okay. So let's bring it back and do your high temps, your forecast high temps across the country. Again, from Pivotal Weather for for Thanksgiving Day. And you see it's a lot like the day before. That's a 42. I know it's small. That's a 42 at, let's see, what time was this at? It's at 18Z. So this is 1 in the afternoon. It's showing low to mid 40s here around the D.C. region. You got your nice stripe of warmth, still where it was same day before, down through Texas, up through Nebraska, Oklahoma, South Dakota, and then even up into Montana. And again, if you're east of the Rockies there, Denver, maybe 60s for Thanksgiving Day. That's not bad at all for out there for this time of year. And it won't last, that's for sure. Denver does a lot of the elevation plays a big role in their weather. So their wind direction and what side of this area high pressure they're on. And again, since it's a monster high sitting right there, and since we're on the eastern flank of it, we're getting the northwest flow, and since they're on the western flank of it, they're getting the southeasterly flow right off the Gulf, which is still super warm. So that's going to get that nose of warm air all the way up there into the far reaches of the lower 48. So that's what Thanksgiving looks like. Again, it's super quiet, just really all around the country. I'll bring it up one more time. Not a big, what's up, Donna? Hello. Not a big concern there. And Jaber, I hope I'm saying that right. Hello to you as well. We are, again, it's quiet, lots of sunshine, a spotty thunderstorm way south of here, some rain in the northwest, but generally speaking, again, a very quiet and uneventful holiday weather-wise, which is always a good thing. All right, moving on to with something we were watching. If you watched on Friday, one thing we were watching was I mentioned that we saw a pattern that was very typical of storms. Well, things have shifted around a little bit, and if you don't want a storm, then you're in luck, because things have shifted in the negative direction. This is the time frame we were watching. This is what it looked like on Friday when we mentioned it. This is the same model from the day on Friday. Just notice where your reds and where your blues are. Watch specifically this ridge, how it comes down. First off, let me clear that off. That right there is the Hudson Bay that I circled here. Notice where the oranges and the reds, how the oranges and the reds come right to the edge of the Hudson Bay here. And your blues, your weaknesses in the pattern, are down across, mostly focused across the southeast. Here's the new run, same model, new run for the same time period. And I'll go back and forth. Specifically, I want you to watch kind of this area up around the Hudson Bay. Watch what happened between the two. See the reds, and now look how they kind of got taken. See how the blues kind of forced themselves northward. Much deeper upper level low. And when you get these big upper level lows, it's not so good. This time of year, it's not so good for, in fact, it's pretty bad for getting storms to form, these nice coastal storms that go up. This is not the most favorable pattern for them. What this will do, if we get this pattern in the middle of the winter, this is more of you got the big upper level low there, grabbing pieces of energy that come out and throwing them this way. So this is more of a clipper pattern. And you'll see there's a little clipper going to the north, but we're not at the time of year where these big snow clippers come across to give us snow. That's more January. in February. So not there just yet. And the difference between a let's see, I'm waiting for the I don't know if you can hear it in my mic, but the Fox thing is going off, so I'm trying not to talk over it. So 1 sec, we'll let it finish. And make sure I'm not missing anything major either. All right, perfect. Doesn't sound like it's anything too important to me. We are again, the difference between this, which had coastal potential, and this, which just doesn't. You got a big upper level high out here too. That's kind of going to take any energy that does form and kind of force it a little bit too far south. So as a result, what you're going to do is you're going to get a storm that kind of rolls across the top here, and then you're going to get a storm down here that sort of comes up and out. But the problem is that they're not going to link. They're not going to phase, as we like to say in the weather department, and kind of their energy is not going to come together and form a much bigger storm. You'll see that. Let's do. Let's go out to the model again. This is now Saturday. This is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. As I mentioned before, I mean, there's your storm energy right here. Kind of almost a lot like what's going to happen on Wednesday. You got an area low pressure here, and there's your clipper. I know it's difficult to see. There's a lot of lines up there, but there's a clipper up there. And basically, this clipper is too fast. It's getting pushed out already. Whereas if it had been, say, way back here, while this piece of energy was, say, back here, they could have linked up as it came eastward and maybe redeveloped into something here, and then you got a storm that you're talking about. Not going to happen, if that makes sense. Watch how they just don't connect. We'll roll through your day on Saturday. Again, it's not in the worst spot in the world. I mean, given that pattern we mentioned, there's an area low pressure right there on Saturday night, but the main energy that it would have had to tap into is gone. It's like way up here. So without that, and they do eventually link up way up there towards Nova Scotia. What's up?
Hi, Mikey.
Hi, you going to school?
Going to a school. You sure you don't want to come?
I can't. I'm sorry. I'm busy.
It's the Chantilly Panda Bears.
Are you going to wear your panda hat? You should. There you go. See? That's why I'm here, for the ideas. Okay. Bye, Chuck. So you see right at the end there, they do eventually phase. They develop into a little bit of a storm off to the way up far north and east up there in Nova Scotia. But by that time, it's out of our hands, and it's not a worry. So, but still, positive signs. Seeing a pattern like this in November. If we can get this to repeat again in January or February, it'd be much more exciting, mostly because of the time of year. We'd have more cold air just for the time of year sitting up here, and we'd under this type of a pattern. If this was January, we'd easily be looking at temperatures in, say, the 20s or teens, as opposed to getting 50s in the afternoon and then right around freezing in the evening. That's not going to do a whole lot for you cold air supply wise. All right, moving on, guys. Just a look at the extended range. Is there any more cold coming? Let's crank this baby forward. Heading out towards the final day of hurricane season. We got the 30th November. Goodbye. And then models. This is again, we're 15 days away now. This is as we get through the first week of December. In fact, December 5th. Only 20 days away from Christmas Day at the end of this model run. It's showing a little bit of a ridge, or it wants the yellows and oranges here across the eastern half of the U.S. would typically want to warm things up. I'm not so sure I buy it, and the reason why I don't really buy it is because of how much blocking you have going on up here. You have a ridge right across the polar region, and you're still getting a little bit of a block there in Greenland. I think it's going to kind of be another one of these chilly but not cold starts to the month of December. We've had this really almost annoying Bering Sea ridge that doesn't look like it wants to give up anytime soon. That means you'll put like a trough in this region, you'll get a ridge out through there, and then you'll get another trough somewhere in the east. So I think it's probably overdoing the amount of warming as we head into December in the East Coast. I think temperatures are generally speaking still going to be on the chilly side of things, similar to, I think, what we're going to see today and what we're going to see Thanksgiving Day, which is highs in the 40s, mid to upper 40s around the region Thanksgiving Day here in D.C. So I don't see any signs of big cold, and I don't see any signs of a major warm-up coming our way either just yet. Here's the latest long-term that's going. This is the 16 to 30 day. So this is December 5th through the 9th of December. 16 to 20 day, I'm sorry. It's trying to warm things up, but I will say this model has been trying to warm things up for a while, and so far it has not been correct. All right, guys, that is generally speaking all I have for today. Whoops, I went to the wrong camera. Let's bring it back. We'll bring it back inside here. I'll say goodbye. And yeah, that's it. That's the weather show for today. Again, I don't see anything major coming our way. I don't see any big storms. Next chance of rain here in D.C. In fact, here's one thing I haven't had a chance to do yet, so we should do it now, is show you the 7-day forecast that we went with this morning on the show. We have 51 today. It's mostly sunny, but it's breezy out there. It's chilly. It's not going to feel like 51. It's going to feel like 40s all day. Tomorrow, more sun than clouds, but some clouds from time to time, up near 60. And if we get enough sun, we will probably hit 60 tomorrow. Wednesday, as we mentioned before, as you saw on the radar, starting cloudy with a chance of some showers. And then we should clear up into the afternoon. We'll turn breezy, and that 53 is an early high, and temperatures dropping through the 40s all afternoon. Friday, sunny, or I'm sorry, Thursday, Thanksgiving Thursday, can't forget it. It's a mix of clouds and sun. Same deal as tomorrow, really. Probably more sun than clouds, but cool. Only 48 in D.C., and that means lots of our suburbs staying in the mid to lower 40s for the day on Thanksgiving. So stay warm, stay inside, maybe make a fire, watch some football. Friday afternoon looks sunny, bright, but still on the cool side of things, 54. I do want to mention Black Friday. Black Friday shoppers were near freezing here in the city, which means we're below freezing in the suburbs. Some 20s out there if you're doing the early morning shopping thing Friday morning. So be prepared for that. Dress nice and warm. Weekend will warm it up a bit on Saturday with maybe a passing shower, and then Sunday's another chilly one. Temperature of 47, and much like your day on Wednesday here, that's probably another day where that 47 comes nice and early. And then temperatures are dropping kind of the second half of the day. All right, that concludes things. I'm done for the day. That is the latest from your weather. That is which means it's a holiday, which you can expect for travel. If you have any questions at all, you can find me, Mike T Fox 5 on Twitter, or Mike Thomas Fox 5 on Facebook. You have destination questions about where you're going. You just have general questions about weather or life in general. That can be good with life questions. Not really. That's all I got, guys. I hope you have a great Monday. Enjoy the short work week. And then I will see you guys tomorrow, where we will talk about, briefly weather, but something other than weather. Just to mix things up a little bit. All right, that's it. Enjoy your Monday. Enjoy the short work week, and we will see you tomorrow. Molly's coming up. Just a couple more minutes. She'll be here, and she will cover your news. She will cover the latest headlines. Meanwhile, I will give you a live look at the White House as I sign off. Happy Monday. See you Tuesday.
All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to the show. Molly and Risa here. Thanks for joining us today, and thanks for waiting through the weather portion of the stream with Mike Thomas, who is now off to go to bed, and he's off a shift.
Oh yeah, because he comes in so early.
He's an early guy, and he does this 11 o'clock hit, which is awesome. We're so glad that you guys are viewers. And he's so vibrant and awesome. He was saying the weather is kind of stagnant this week. It's just sunny and kind of chilly, not a lot to kind of go into, but
it feels colder in the office.
It does.
It feels colder.
I'm telling you guys, I'm cranking up my heater over by my desk.
It's so lucky.
Do you even have one?
No, I don't have a heater. I'm putting on like my big old coat.
Dude, oh my goodness. Yes, social media guru is back. Glad to have you, LDU23. Risa is here. I'm here, Molly, your host, and we're chattering about just the week. It's Thanksgiving week, guys. We're going to be breaking down what is happening. And interestingly, on a holiday week, it's kind of, it gets a little slower and dry because Capitol Hill is kind of winding down for the week. Officials and government, of course, are going to be out for the holiday. Yes. So it's kind of interesting to kind of pull what we're gonna find for news. But we always have fun stuff.
We have stuff going for you guys. We have a list of items that we're going to talk about. What should we get started on?
You want to start it off?
Let's see. Justice League, there's been a lot of superhero talk. Let's talk about that. So Saturday, guys, I went to go see Justice League. Definitely waited before reading Kevin's review. And is it my favorite over Thor? I was just having a conversation with Joe, one of our photogs. I liked it a little bit more than the other. If you guys love this Batman, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm not a fan of Ben Affleck, but I will say this. Wonder Woman, Gal, you are a goddess. Killed it in her scenes. Don't want to give much away, but the first opening scene, amazing. The way that they did like some slow-mos where you could see her in real action was just amazing. Every other hero, Flash was great. People were saying that he would be a little bit too corny, but he was just about right. If you guys are fans of the comic books, you'll probably remember him being slightly corny, but not like overly at the top. He was great. He did amazing. Our boy, can't remember his name. Aquaman.
Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa did amazing. It's really cool transitioning from this Game of Thrones man that I see him as to Aquaman. He did amazing, had the sarcastic vibes, but was also serious, kind of moody, but like really humorous at the same time. So it was interesting to see him play that from this like killer Darth Raki, which he embodied in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, he's definitely the tough guy role for sure.
Yeah,
and so seeing him in sort of that comical, I think, Aquaman, tough but also funny, different lens.
For sure. And what else? I thought the storyline was cool. The villain I was kind of about. I feel like a lot of different superheroes right now are taking on this goddess kind of villain or god villain. So we'll leave it at that. If you haven't seen it, you definitely should. If you're a superhero fan, it definitely won't disappoint you. Superman versus Batman was disappointing to me. This one isn't. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Good.
And you're going to go see it
soon,
Good review.
Right? Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I was a big fan of Wonder Woman. I plan to see it, but I just haven't been able to yet. So hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Because your family was in town.
Had an interesting weekend. Yeah, my family was in town, so it was kind of cool to show them some of DC and some of my favorite neighborhood spots. So that was kind of a cool DC weekend for me.
Yeah.
And now going into the holiday weekend, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be around. Staying around DC. Going to hopefully do some coverage on Thanksgiving and into Friday. We'll see. I'm still like pending what we're going to be doing, but hopefully we'll bring some cool live digital coverage from DC.
You always have cool stuff.
Yeah, we try. We try to put it all together. What else were we talking about social? Charles Manson is dead, guys. That's in our headline.
Goodness gracious, yeah.
A pretty big deal. I saw that break over emails and the breaking news this morning, and they were talking about it a lot on our morning shows. Lots of old footage of course, the old cult that he led and his group, the family, and the murders that went on in 1969. We're gonna have Judith actually on the desk break this down a little more. You may have seen her on the stream before. She is part of the crime podcast that we've been doing. She's really into true crime. She's knowledgeable. She's an expert. She's interested. She's going to talk more about
it. She's my go-to for sure.
Yes.
For sure. She actually got me started. Like, I've always been a fan, but it's always been kind of one of those, like, I kind of like murder, but how do I tell somebody I like learning about the cases and getting into the psyche of, these people behind them? And I mentioned it to her one day. She's like, oh my gosh, me too. So she put me on this amazing podcast. It's called My Favorite Murder. Both her and Jackie Smith listen to it, and it's led by these two girls who basically talk about their favorite murder, and they do it in a fun, humorous kind of way, if you could put humor on murder. So it makes it interesting, and yeah, Judith is definitely my go-to expert when I have like a question on like said killer. Oh, the San Francisco Bay killer? Yes, let me tell you. So she'll definitely give you a nice rundown.
She's into it. I can't wait to grab her.
Really
And it's funny because she's, like I said, she's fielding all the calls coming into the assignment desk, so dealing with changes and breaking news and stuff. So it's going to be kind of interesting to try to grab her. But we will. We're also going to have Tom Fitzgerald back on the show. He's breaking down the politics of the day. I think he has a specific story that he can chat about, and we haven't seen him on the stream for a little bit, so he's around to talk a little more politics. And I guess we're talking a little bit of Thanksgiving traditions, right? This week we're just
do you do anything
into the
like
week. Well,
recalling the childhood memories? Was there a specific tradition you and your family
it's
would
just
follow?
sort of a big family, big Italian family thing. You know, gathering everybody together, lots of side dishes and food.
Oh, so much food.
I'm telling you though, I am like already turkeyed out because we had so many Thanksgiving dinners in this newsroom.
Yes.
So
And plus the
I'm
sides.
good.
They have so many sides. Like, we're not missing out. We already had Thanksgiving.
It's a fun time to be off with family and stuff.
For
Black
sure.
Friday is obviously a big talker. I think Mike was chatting about it earlier. It's a big deal for people that like to do that. Are you still, are you into that anymore?
Not really, only because I don't like being amongst the hustle and bustle
I know.
of, let me wait in line for this shirt that's like $5 and the line is literally wrapped outside the store. I'm not a fan of that. I'd rather just like maybe do online, which the new thing now is
Cyber Monday.
So I'm eager to see what kind of specials go on sale. I really don't need much right now, I feel, except a laptop.
That's a big purchase.
Someone wants to be my Santa laptop? Mac? Pro?
Guys, let us know what you are up to for Thanksgiving week, and if you have anything special coming up, we want to chat with you, of course, and let us know where you're watching from. I know some of you guys have been on before, so I know some of you, but do check in with us throughout. We'll be chatting it more. Anything else popping on Instagram or social media today? What's big?
Oh, so Instagram. We posted
Give it a
it
story.
earlier. Such a sweet story about this bride who got married twice in one day, and the story behind that is her father unfortunately is going through therapy to treat his leukemia. Doctors have given him a few weeks left to live. So she and her fiance moved up their wedding date, which was supposed to be in April, to this past month. And with the help of the nurses at this hospital that he's staying at in San Francisco, they were able to curate a special surprise wedding day where he was able to walk her down the aisle. Because he's so weak, he can't leave the hospital, which is why they decided to do it there. And I just think it's beautiful and it's just heartwarming. And in addition, you know, it's sad, it's super bittersweet, but seeing their faces on this picture it's just it's beautiful.
That's awesome. Let's put it in a box shot here, so we can see them both. So this is just one example of some of the stories that we throw on there, and you find them through our sister stations.
This one was actually done by our sister station, so our San Francisco station did it, and we shared it. And and it's doing well. It's just something that resonates with people.
Good.
It's feel good, but bittersweet. It's So
that
that's
is a
what
good
we've
one.
been working on. What else?
And then also, downtown there was there was a big story today at the Willard Hotel, the old historical hotel, about the turkey pardoning for the annual turkey pardoning that the president does. It was the 70th anniversary, I believe, of the pardoning. So our reporter Bob Barnard, who's maybe somewhere in the newsroom, was on this story, and he was sort of tracking the ones that had been shipped in from Minnesota and which ones were going to be able to be not Thanksgiving food this year.
And the birds they picked were gorgeous.
I know, the footage was really cool. I think I have some, let me see if I can have some video of it, because I did clip some. Kind of an interesting tradition, right? It's kind of odd.
So. Yeah, it's odd. It's interesting. So wait, question. What do they do with the birds then? Do they let them
This
breed?
is Bob. I'll just show you guys Bob interviewing. I think they do. I think that's like
That's her thing, okay. They just set them
This is
free.
Bob interviewing one of the leaders this morning, and we can play this out later maybe, but they were talking about the anniversary of this, and there's some of the birds.
So pretty.
I know.
With the white feathers.
So tomorrow, President Trump, as annually he will do, the president, they'll pardon. Oh my gosh, Bob got to pet one of them. I
would totally pet one. I love animals.
His feathers like raising up.
Yeah, he's like.
They are. They're interesting.
So who picks them? The president picks those two specific birds.
Picks the ones that will be pardoned.
Okay.
And I have a little information. I gotta read more about it. Basically, they welcomed these birds, of course, at the luxurious historical hotel, the Willard. and they're made comfortable, and then ultimately, no, I think ultimately,
Yeah.
he pardons, I thought just one.
Oh. Well, this year we have 2. Wow.
Wait, let me see.
So beautiful, those big white feathers.
Yeah, 70th anniversary. Maybe maybe it is the 2. I gotta talk to Bob for more details on it, but it's like a big tradition
deal,
here.
yeah.
The president gets involved. There it is.
Yeah.
Cool footage.
Yeah. So beautiful. I would be petting it like Bob.
I want to get him over here and ask him what it was like to meet these guys and what it was like to talk to these turkeys.
I wanna get a
they're
turkey
getting like
over here.
ruffled. I do too.
Oh, that's so pretty.
We've eaten enough of it though.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh, good morning, guys. Yeah, Manson, definitely a hot topic today. Oh, we got Fitz. Hey.
What time
We'll take you in a little bit, like soon. We can switch you out in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in a second. Just casually, chatting to our people in the newsroom. We're gonna get Tom Fitzgerald over here. We haven't talked to him in a little bit about his story. Schulte says good morning.
Hi, Schulte.
It's still 9 a.m. You're in the Midwest, I think, or remind me where you are again.
Let's see, it's 11.
Wait, it's not. Oh, so the West
12.
Coast.
Well, no, it's 12.
So it's the West Coast for you.
Cali? West Coast? Yeah. First thing I always think of is Cali because my aunt lives in Cali, West Coast. Always associate the two. I mean, yeah, it's the West Coast. But, yeah. So what else? What else do we have? Future of sports.
Yes. Okay, so we'll take it out of this turkey video. We'll hope to get Bob a little bit later. We went to another really interesting digital / kind of interactive-ish art installation in DC that was sports related.
Yeah.
It was sports themed.
Totally different.
It was really, really great. We did as we do and got the full coverage, lots of video. We're gonna put it together
Which Molly is
in a
working
cool video with
on.
cool music to show you guys just another really cool part of the art scene in DC.
And it's just different because it touches on another form of art. Because I consider sports an art. It is just amazing what the human body can do, what can it achieve through training and through setting these goals that you have for yourself. So the way they curated this space, I thought was really cool. They have a lot of vibrant colors, which are, I feel like, trigger points to like wake you and like get you into that zone for whatever specific sport it is. And,
Totally.
I don't know, did you have a favorite room?
It was cool. They featured, so many things from beach volleyball to basketball and football and European football and
South American soccer.
Oh my goodness, yeah. The
that was a
colors
cool
really
one.
vibed with that one.
Yeah.
And just and there was a big track when you come in, and it's really cool. It's put together from by young producers who are passionate about getting, people involved in these types of installations and caring about what it means. And there was a place there was an autograph room where you could sign the wall.
That was cool.
With
The locker room.
trophies.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting visuals. I think you guys will get the point when you see the visuals when we put it all together.
Yeah. It's basically a space for everybody because I feel like, for example, here, like a big highlight would be football, and American football, and basketball, and golf, and then like in places like South America, the big thing there would be soccer. Same with Europe. I mean, I'm not saying that that's the only sport that's centralized to these locations, but I feel like when you can tie in every little bit of everything and turn it into one big thing, it makes it like a nice universal area for everybody to come and not just like designated to like one specific set love. It's to all loves. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
And another cool thing, the girl behind this space is actually Bolivian, and from what I remember when we spoke with Allison, who is kind of like a creative director, basically a big important role with the team, said that her father played in the Bolivian league for what was it?
Right, in
for
one of the
World
World Cups.
Cup,
One
for
of
World
them. I
Cup.
can't remember which year.
Yes, the last time I remember Bolivia was in the World Cup was 1994. So I want to say it's maybe that, but she was like, "Don't quote me." It was probably like before that time frame. But if it was then, that's cool because my dad went out to watch that game because it was here in the United States when they had it. I was just having a conversation about this the other day, and I recall him painting his face. This is me really little, 1994. I was born 89, so how old was I?
You're little. 5.
Yeah, I was little. But I remember him leaving out the house with his face painted with the Bolivian colors, so it's red, yellow, and green. And I had asked my mom, it's funny how I remember this, where he was going. She said a gay. And I do have
Remember.
pictures at home. Yeah, I still remember this.
Love those childhood memories of sports.
Yeah.
They're so, so good. So we're going to have that special video for you as soon as we can. We'll play it out this week, hopefully,
For sure.
very soon. But I just wanted to switch it over quickly. We're going to talk more social media with Raisa, hopefully down the road.
Yeah.
I see President Trump in some tape playback in the White House right now. That just happened moments ago. So I'm going to jump over there, and then we're going to talk to Fitz for a little bit just about the politics of the day.
Yeah.
So we're going to go from there, guys.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Raisa. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
Here's a little look inside the White House. Let's bring that up.
Trade deals with other countries. So we had a negative number, a trade deficit of almost $800 billion with other countries. That's not going to be happening. That's changing. And I explained that to them from the standpoint of Asia. They understand it. Every one of them understand it. One of the primary goals of our trip was to pursue the denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. I want to begin this morning by meeting and by talking about the fact that we will be instituting a very critical step, and that'll start right now. Today, the United States is designating North Korea as a state sponsor of terrorism. Should have happened a long time ago, should have happened years ago. In addition to threatening the world by nuclear devastation, North Korea has repeatedly supported acts of international terrorism, including assassinations on foreign soil. As we take this action today, our thoughts turn to Otto Warmbier, wonderful young man, and the countless others so brutally affected by the North Korean oppression. This designation will impose further sanctions and penalties on North Korea and related persons, and supports our maximum pressure campaign to isolate the murderous regime that you've all been reading about and in some cases writing about. Tomorrow, the Treasury Department will be announcing an additional sanction, and a very large one, on North Korea, and this will be going on over the next 2 weeks. It'll be the highest level of sanctions by the time it's finished over a 2-week period. The North Korean regime must be lawful. It must end its unlawful nuclear and ballistic missile development, and cease all support for international terrorism, which it is not doing. Today, cabinet discussions will also focus on crucial domestic policy issues. I want to congratulate the House of Representatives for passing a vital and historic tax cut last week, and I'm very hopeful the Senate will do the same very soon. We're going to give the American people a huge tax cut for Christmas. Hopefully that will be a great, big, beautiful Christmas present. With the Democrats giving us no votes for tax cuts for purely political reasons, obstructionists, it will be up to the Republicans to come through for America. I think they will. I hope they will. It's up to the Senate. And if they approve it, the House and the Senate will get together. I'll be there right in the middle of it, and we will come up with a bill that will be spectacular for growth and spectacular for the people of this country. Our tax plan will bring urgent relief to hardworking families. We'll reduce rates, increase the amount of income taxed at a rate of 0, expand the child tax credit, very important, and simplify taxes, as most families will be able to file on a single sheet of paper. We'll restore America's competitive edge so we can bring back our jobs. We want to bring our jobs back to our country. We were decimated over the last 40 years. We want to bring our jobs back to the United States. We'll go from being one of the highest taxed nations in the world to one of the lowest taxed nations in the world. Corporate rates will be reduced from 35% all the way down to 20%, which will make us competitive again, and companies won't be leaving our country. Finally, our tax plan will return trillions of dollars in wealth to our shores so that companies can invest in America again. At the same time, we're working to reduce wasteful government spending. We will hear from Budget Director Mick Mulvaney, who is working with my cabinet to find taxpayer savings in each and every department. The cabinet members that are with us today are working on getting reductions to their various departments, and we think we're going to be able to save a lot of money even lower than the budgets and the budgets that we're submitting. We'll be working on healthcare, infrastructure, and welfare reform. We're looking very strongly at welfare reform, and that'll all take place right after taxes, very soon, very shortly after taxes. So we'll be submitting plans on healthcare, plans on infrastructure, and plans on welfare reform, which is desperately needed in our country, soon after taxes. Today we'll also discuss the opioid epidemic that is ravaging so many American families and communities. Last week I was proud to nominate Alex Azar to serve as the next Secretary of Health and Human Services. I urge the Senate to swiftly confirm his nomination, and I want to thank Acting Secretary Eric Hargan for serving with such devotion and for doing such a great job in the meantime. Thank you very much, Eric. Finally, I want to wish the American people a truly happy and blessed Thanksgiving, especially to our brave men and women serving on our military and our Border Patrol and ICE agents along the very dangerous southern border. As you heard, we lost a Border Patrol officer just yesterday, and another one was brutally beaten and badly hurt. Looks like he'll make it, but very badly hurt. And we talk about the wall. We're going to have the wall. Part of what we're doing. We need it. It's rough territory. That's where the drugs are coming in. A lot of things are happening along the border, the southern border, and we're going to straighten it out. We've already reduced the numbers, and you see the numbers, they're back to 78% down from what they were. And those numbers will get better and better, but we have to stop the massive drug flow from pouring in. And my respect to the families that were so badly hurt yesterday, because they were devastated. Those two families were devastated. I just want to wish everybody a very happy Thanksgiving. We're going to be working very hard during the recess in Florida. We're going to Florida. And I want to thank you all for being here, and let's start our meeting. And to the media, to the press, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Your thoughts on Roy Moore, Mr. President? Do you believe his accusers? Do you believe Roy Moore's accusers, Mr. President?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thanks.
All right, guys, so we're back, and we're going to play out this interview with Bob that we mentioned earlier. Bob, this was you earlier this morning, because I wanted to get your take on what it was like to pet the turkeys.
Okay.
What was it like?
You know what? I've seen turkey. Well, we've eaten plenty of turkeys.
Yeah.
And this was in a room, like a fourth floor room at the Willard Hotel. This is the Willard Hotel. It's like a fancy schmancy place. And so,
yeah, I won't play through it. It's just a raw clip. Yeah.
Okay. So these are two turkeys. They've just been named Wishbone and Drumstick. There's
I
a
didn't
White
catch
House
that
naming
this morning.
contest. Well, they just announced it. So this guy's the chairman of the National Turkey Federation, in from Minnesota.
Okay.
And the young ladies behind him are with the 4-H Club of Douglas County, Minnesota. And this is a suite. This is like a suite room.
Okay.
SWEET, a suite room.
Oh, I was wondering what you meant.
On the fourth floor of the Willard Hotel. I don't know what it runs a night, but it's probably like, something like $800 a night. And these turkeys were in there. Now, they had a bunch of sawdust down there to kind of absorb any stuff. And there was much more by the front door.
More.
The camera is looking from you've just walked in the doorway and looking down on these turkeys. So behind the camera is all these the wood chips or whatever to kind of absorb anything that they might leave behind. But it was cool. I've seen turkeys, like wild turkeys, and they can come at you. They've got these talons, and these guys were very calm. They're only 20 weeks old, domesticated. And look, their head is very warm.
Really?
Yeah. And even the thing down below their neck is burning warm. They say that's all blood. And so
oh my goodness.
It was very feathery. Like, so I don't know if that I ever got my hands in there and touched the back of the turkey, but I got them in the feathers there, which was bizarre. I've never done that. And then rubbing the head of a turkey. So I've never and beautiful. It's like a blue, if you see it there. There's like a blueness to the face, and
probably has to do with the blood and stuff, right?
Yeah.
The blue red
and red in there. So really cool. And so I got to pet these 2 turkeys. One of them will be presented to President Trump tomorrow. The other one's just to stand by in case the one gets sick or has a problem or isn't feeling well.
Okay, we were wondering that.
Right. So they have 2. One is the wingman for the other.
Got it. And I love the names. We were talking about this earlier on the stream before we got Bob in here. We were like, which one is, what happens? How does it work?
I can't tell them apart. They could, but one is wishbone and the other is drumstick.
And it's a 70-year-old tradition, the president will pardon one of them tomorrow.
Exactly. Well, yes. Presenting the turkeys to the president goes back 70 years to Harry Truman, 1947, right after World War II. Pardoning, apparently, started with the first President Bush in 1989, the first time they actually pardoned them. These 2 will go to, and I forgot Gobbler's Rest, I think it's called. It's at Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. They have a poultry science department, like studies the poultry industry, and they were gobbling right into the mic. That was
that's
great
so cool.
Interview we did
Did the sound go up on this?
He didn't gobble when I was there. Don't let him grope you. Did I say that? Cut that out. There he goes.
You got a little bit of it, God. So we just got a lot of that footage. I thought it was cool to pull, to kind of show. Yeah.
So these the 2 of them will go down. They're 20 weeks old each. They'll live only about 2 or 3 years. They don't live a long time, unfortunately. They're going to go down to Blacksburg, Virginia, to the university, to Virginia Tech. The university has a poultry science department, and they call it Gobbler's Rest, and they will join, I think, Tater and Tot were the 2 turkeys from last year.
Okay.
Still alive, still there. These 2 will eventually go down there, and that young lady we interviewed was Kayla.
Yeah.
She was a 4-H club member from Douglas County, Minnesota. They helped to raise these 2 turkeys. Again, those 2 males are 20 weeks old.
That's so neat.
They'll live a few years, and so one of them will be officially pardoned, wishbone or drumstick, by the president tomorrow at the White House.
The other one is not going to be used.
I think it'll go to the White House in case there's a problem.
In case there's a problem.
In case it kills over.
It's really just the ceremonial event of pardoning a turkey. And I wonder where that all came. You said it was first Bush that started at 84?
Well, no, 1989. George H.W. Bush was the first to pardon the turkey. The ceremony goes back to 1947. And I think it's, there are so many special interests out there. This is, the National Turkey Federation. And it's just their way of kind of encouraging people to buy their product, eat turkeys over the holidays for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And so I'm sure to try to sell even more turkeys than they would normally.
Right.
Yeah, that's so warm. And then he told me, I don't know if it's on here or if it was after the camera went.
Yeah.
But that ready bulby thing. What do you think of President Trump? Yeah, I was goofing around.
You're goofing around. The red is what underneath?
This thing right here underneath his neck, and it has, I don't know what significance it has, but it's burning hot too. I mean, the head was warm and this was very hot because he said it's all blood, and I guess that's what gives it its red color.
I wonder where they got the pardoning thing. There must be some history to why they did that, but
or maybe I didn't get a straight answer because I was kind of kidding, but that maybe in the past the presidents took the turkey and had it feathered and
maybe
fried or roasted and had it for dinner.
There were activist groups
that were say, wait a minute, Mr. President, here this turkey comes and does his show at the White House at the Rose Garden. Why don't you be nice? And so maybe as another gimmick, with the first President Bush, they officially pardoned the turkey. But the pardoning goes back to 1989. The tradition of presenting the president with a turkey goes back to 1947, so 70 years. And again, I think it's just to promote the turkey industry in our country.
Yeah, true. And interesting, too, because it's at a very historical, beautiful hotel, the Willard Hotel, which has a lot of lore and history in its own self. I think the mint julep was created there, and there's some history to the bar there.
And the term lobbying came there.
Oh, that's right.
I forget which president it was.
In the lobby.
Yeah, that right. The president, I don't know if it was Taft or Harrison or one of the presidents
some history.
would come. It's steps from the White House. Really. It's like a block and a half from the White House. that president would go there and have a drink or tea, and people, special interests would go there and try to like get him to like support whatever it is that they had an agenda for, and that became the lobbying effort. Because that's why they call them lobbyists, because they'd hang out in the lobby of the Willard Hotel. Yes. This video was in the 4th floor suite there. They had a news conference. We did this at about 9 o'clock this morning. Okay. It ran during Good Day DC, and then at 11 o'clock this morning in their ballroom on the main floor, they had a ceremony, like a press conference ceremony where they did put them out, and I tweeted a couple of photos.
Oh yeah, you did. I pulled that. I love looking at it.
Because I'll show you. One of the photos was kind of neat because
I pulled your tweets and I was like, these are awesome.
And I'll show you because like as we journalists will do. What? They're down there. You know, some of these guys are on the floor. Come down to one more. Yeah, that one. Yeah, take a look at that one. Look at this. These guys are all like. And make sure you see the guys on the floor there. So here you got all these
on the floor. We'll take this
just to show you what you have there.
Such a cool shot.
So
they're all on the floor.
These people are all taking pictures, and you know, of course they've got a mat there so the darn turkey doesn't
do anything.
Yeah, like soil the carpeting. But here you got these photographers kind of like down there on the floor, just kind of taking the picture. And these were the lady in red there is the wife. This is. Carl Wittenberg, who's the current chairman of the National Turkey Federation. His wife is a 3rd-generation turkey farmer.
Whoa! And so it really goes back for families.
Yeah, and they have property in North Dakota and Minnesota. I think these 2 turkeys came from Minnesota. But so that's who are some of these people. But here they are on the ballroom floor of the Willard Hotel. You've got these camera people who are down there taking the pictures, trying to get a good angle.
Such a cool tradition, and obviously appropriate for Turkey Week. We're going into Thanksgiving week, and again, if you're just joining us, Bob Barnard, this was his story this morning.
Yeah, it was kind of fun.
The turkeys.
Yeah. So we met these there.
You're always up for adventurous stuff. You touch the animals, you jump through hoops, literally.
So, I did that one time. Yes, you're right. I had a tarantula crawl on my arm live on TV. It was one of those things where I was like, I don't want to. I was doing a thing at at one of the Smithsonian museums, and I was like, just don't get that thing near me. And as we're on live TV, I'm like, all right, screw it. We're on live TV.
You had to do it.
And had this, you kind of gives you a little, courage, extra courage. But this was fun.
That's a cool one.
Never pet, or touched.
And you weren't nervous? Turkeys. They weren't like snappy or bitey? I mean,
no.
Was that
and they told me that ahead of time.
They did?
I wouldn't have gotten that close if they were, because I've been around wild turkeys, and those suckers can go at you. Yeah, and this
kind of a double.
If you show this one, this will show you. So this is the ballroom, and you look at all the people surrounding. There's underneath these crystal chandeliers, and all these journalists and people are there
and
to see those 2 guys.
Yeah, that's so funny. It's so cool.
It was fun, and it's kind of it gets you excited for Thanksgiving and the holiday season. Yeah, it's all starting to happen. And
we're excited. Are you a big turkey guy yourself?
Oh, I love turkey.
Are you excited? We've had a lot. I was telling you earlier, we were talking about this. We've had so many feasts in the office already that we've been like,
them.
Oh, you did? You were out.
Yeah, I was out on a story last week.
Yeah,
I came in and there was stuff left, but by that point, I was not going to go near that.
Yeah, and
I don't have a harsh weekend.
There was like fried turkey, Cajun turkey, but it was so much that I'm just like, I don't even know if I want anymore.
It's fun. It's fun.
It's a fun week. Do you have big plans with your family? Or you
going to Illinois to be with some family, my wife's family? So excited for that. Love them. Get to hang out.
All the kids, everybody's together.
Yeah, be with cousins and their grandparents, and should be fun. How about you?
Staying around this year, but usually we do a big family affair in New England of selling some of the people. I'm just staying around and might help with some of Redskins coverage and some football on Thanksgiving. So we'll see. Yeah,
cool.
I'm going to stay around this year, but it's a change for me. But family. It's all right. I'll see my Christmas.
We're family. This is family here. Come on.
Newsroom. Yeah, we're gonna have fun with it.
Yeah, our cousins, the Redskins, aren't the greatest of family members.
They're playing that
now,
night. They're playing Thursday night.
Giants.
And with his Giants. That's
I was at the game. I was at the game in New York last night. So,
how did you? You are amazing with the turnaround.
Yeah, we were there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Because it was at.
It was a 1 o'clock game. By the time it was over, and we got these special field passes, so we got to go on the field at MetLife. Took a couple of pictures. It's pitch black, and when I got up this morning to come to work, I'm like, it's still dark. I was in New Jersey last night, and it was dark, and it's still dark, and I'm going to work. But it was fun. Giants are awful. They're worse than the Redskins, but they won yesterday, and that was fun to be there when they won. That's
so great for you. I know you're a longtime fan. And then what do you think about this Thursday's game? If it's them matched up, what's going to...
I'll tell you what. I wonder if... Most people are predicting, I heard Wisdom this morning on air saying the Redskins are going to beat the Giants, and they probably are because the Giants have not been good. But they showed that they can be good if they, put their hearts into it. And I wouldn't be surprised if, like, the trajectory, sadly, of the Redskins after that comeback defeat is heading south, although they seem to be going like this. The Giants have been awful. and they put it together. It's a short turnaround for both teams. So
Yeah.
you with injuries and you don't know. But I could see the Giants winning another one. This time on the road. The first game they won earlier this season was in Denver on the road. This is the first home win. But going back on the road, coming down here to DC, and beating the Redskins for Thanksgiving.
You could see it, and that would be fun for you guys.
Fun for me.
Will you be able to watch it out there? I guess you'll have to find it.
Yeah, you know what?
You're in
Years
Illinois.
ago, I was out there, and they're not real big football fans out there. And years ago, the Giants were playing on Thanksgiving night. My brother-in-law arranged to get like the NFL Network for that night so that we could watch it. So we will watch it somehow, some way. I think it's more available now.
I think so too. Also, that it's Thanksgiving, that's the football thing. So I think they do show that game in a lot of places, right?
A lot of times, like it's always been traditionally the Cowboys host and the Detroit Lions host. And those are on the Fox and CBS.
That's right.
The third game, which they've added over the last 10
one.
years, is this game, which is usually on the NFL Network, which a lot of times you have to have a special sports package to get.
Got
That's
it.
what they did years ago so we could watch it. I think it's easier to watch now. I think the NFL Network is more available on regular sports packages, so I'm hoping one way or the other to watch that game after Turkey. It'll be fun.
It'll be a great
Fun.
week. Thanks, Mom, for joining us
You
today
bet,
to talk
Molly.
about your turkeys.
My pleasure.
It's so fun. Guys, we're going to go
The
down
Turkeys, not the Giants or the Redskins. They're just
secondary,
they're men
tertiary.
who try hard and sometimes win, sometimes don't. Thanks, Molly.
Hey guys, so if you're just joining us on the stream, thanks for hanging out with us today. We're inside the Fox 5 digital newsroom. And guys, I have this really interesting video coming in right now, so I want to jump there before we lose it. Hollywood, Florida, guys, talk about home of the Gators. There is a crocodile almost washed up on shore on this beach in Hollywood, Florida. Check it out. While we transition a little bit, we're going to give you these visuals of a crocodile, and they're trying to catch him in Florida.
He missed. Alrighty. Colonel Barnard, what have you got for information as an update? Okay. Going over to the podium. Hello, hello, hello. Okay.
Guys, in case you've been on with us, pretty interesting stuff. This is a live look at officials trying to catch a crocodile off the coast of Hollywood, Florida. But I want to switch it really quickly because we're going to jump up to Flushing, New York, where Mayor Bill de Blasio is talking Thanksgiving security for this upcoming week. So let's go over there.
Said before, we won't ever accept such acts of hate and cowardice as inevitable in our society, certainly not here in New York. I want to assure the people that we swore to protect that anytime something happens anywhere in the world, the NYPD works with our law enforcement partners and studies it, and we learn from it, and it informs our decision-making going forward. In terms of deployment and other security measures, what you'll see this year at the Thanksgiving Day Parade will be in addition to what we did last year. You'll see every intersection, there'll be more blocker cars, and there'll be sand-filled sanitation trucks. And this is the third year in a row we'll be using our Critical Response Command cops who are specifically assigned to counterterrorism duties. And we're working alongside our Strategic Response Group officers, our patrol cops, and our Emergency Services Unit too. And there'll be much the public won't see as well. The bottom line is we want everyone to come out and enjoy what is really a great tradition in New York City every Thanksgiving. And know that the layers of security and protection we'll provide again this year have been in the planning stages since the end of last year's parade. We're all looking forward to another great holiday again this year, and we know all New Yorkers are as well. We'll see you out there on Thursday and on Wednesday night too. Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner, thank you to you and your team for the exceptional work that's been done to prepare for the Thanksgiving parade and for the night before. I have to say I'm particularly proud of the NYPD in the last few weeks, given what this city experienced last month, to see the resolve of our officers to make sure that people are kept safe sends a very powerful message to people of the city that no matter what the event, what the occasion, the NYPD will be there in force and will get the job done. And this is one of the great occasions each year in the city, the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. One of the events everyone looks forward to all year, one of the events most associated with the city. It's been 91 years now. This is literally one of the symbols of why New York City is great, and that's why it is so important to protect this parade and make sure that everyone can enjoy it. We have the finest police force in the world. They've proven time and again that they can make this great event and other huge events work seamlessly. And we saw that also recently with the New York City Marathon. So we are very, very clear about the pain that still hangs in the air because of the attack last month, the 8 innocent people who lost their lives, and all 8.5 million New Yorkers mourn for their families. But we said right away after that horrible tragedy, New York's response is to remain strong and resilient. We do not back down in the face of terror threats, and we don't back down in the face of terrorism itself. And we saw that most powerfully on 9/11 in the months after. This city is filled with resolve. And one of the things we show the world is the fact that we will keep going and that our great annual events that symbolize everything about the city we're proud of, that they will never be changed. So that will be on display this week. And the numbers that will come out will be exceptional. Hundreds of thousands on Wednesday, well over 1 million could be expected on Thursday. This means, of course, there'll be inconveniences as always. There'll be street closures. There'll be things that we have to grapple with. But as New Yorkers, we can deal with that because we're also proud of the fact that we have these kind of events that literally the eyes of the entire world are on. And people love coming out on Wednesday to see the balloons being put together and prepared, and they love coming out on Thursday. But I will remind people there are going to be a lot of street closures. Definitely pay attention to the specifics about where you're going and what the impact will be. Take mass transit if you can, and that's the best way to enjoy this wonderful day ahead. Look, what you can rely upon is there will be a very strong presence of the NYPD, stronger than ever, in fact. I want to emphasize, this is the most important thing I'll say, there are no credible and specific threats against New York City at this time. There are no credible and specific threats against these events. That being said, we will have a very forceful NYPD presence. We will be prepared for any eventuality. There's a lot of presence you will see, and as we always say, there will be presence you don't see that helps to protect all New Yorkers. And I think people understand when they see that visible presence, they are reassured by it, they appreciate it. I hear that from my fellow New Yorkers all the time. Now, I remind everyone, every New Yorker can help the NYPD. The phrase, if you see something, say something, is more meaningful than ever. And it comes down to this. If you don't like the look of a situation, if something seems out of place, you see a package unattended, please don't take time to think about it. Just go to an NYPD officer and report it. That's something everyone can do to help. So, look, as we prepare for these great events, we take stock, and we particularly take stock at Thanksgiving of who we are. We're very proud as New Yorkers. We're proud of the fact that people of all backgrounds, all faiths live in harmony here. We're proud of the fact we're the safest big city in America. We are, in fact, the terrorist's worst nightmare because we reflect a positive, successful, pluralistic society. Everything the terrorists are trying to stop, we show every day works here in New York City. That means we are, in the bigger scheme of things, always going to be facing threat, but we know how to handle it. And I'm so proud of the fact that New Yorkers never even think about changing who we are or changing our values in the face of these threats. Just want to say a few words in Spanish about the parade. El desfile del Día de Acción de Gracias de Macy's es una gran tradición de la ciudad de Nueva York. Gracias al NYPD y la vigilancia de los neoyorquinos, esperamos tener un desfile alegre y seguro. Una vez más, vamos a mostrar al mundo la fortaleza y resiliencia por las que se conoce a nuestra ciudad. With that, I want to bring forward a representative of the company that makes this parade possible, and we're so appreciative to Macy's for all they do for New York City. It's my pleasure to introduce Susan Tercero, Vice President of Macy's.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I am Susan Tercero, Vice President of Macy's. I oversee all production and operations for the parade. First of all, I want to thank the mayor, the mayor's office, all the different city agencies, and especially the NYPD for all of the hard work that they put into helping us put on what is a wonderful event. As the mayor mentioned, it is the 91st Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. It's a very special parade. We're so excited about everything that we have in store. But keep in mind, we do work very, very closely with NYPD to make sure that this is a safe parade, and a lot of different preparations have been put in place that make us feel confident that we're going to be able to continue what is a wonderful tradition that everybody comes out to see and to be a part of. This is a parade that is about bringing people together, and that's what we plan on doing on Thanksgiving morning. So thank you very much again to everybody here, and thank you so much again to NYPD for all of their great efforts in helping us put on what is going to be a magnificent event.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. First, going to go over the balloon inflation on Wednesday night in the public viewing. We reevaluated how we were looking at this, and we came up with some changes to the security to make it an even safer venue. First and foremost, we're changing the times of the viewing. It'll be from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. for the public viewing of the balloon inflation. We are going to be shutting down Central Park West from 72nd Street up to 86th Street. There'll be no traffic allowed there after 12 p.m. We're going to be dropping concrete barriers along Columbus Avenue, going from 77th Street on east side to 81st Street. When people arrive to come to do the viewing, you're going to be entering from Columbus Avenue eastbound on 74th Street, and you're going to walk down to Central Park West. Once on Central Park West, you're going to go through a screening. We will not be allowing anyone.
Hey guys, if you're just joining on the stream, you're looking at a press conference in Flushing, New York. We just heard from the mayor, Mayor Bill de Blasio, outlining some of the security measures that they're going to be taking for this Thanksgiving week, of course, surrounding the Macy's Day Parade. We heard from the president, I believe, of Macy's. And then right corner of your screen, actually still that overhead chopper shot of the crocodile capture, or attempted capture. The crocodile has been eluding officials down there, and we still have that shot up. So I think it's still an ongoing thing. But hey Calex, and hey to some of you guys who have just joined the stream, thanks for joining. Today we're gonna try to snag Tom Fitzgerald for a second to talk a little politics before he runs out for his story, and then we are gonna switch it up a little bit also and talk some Charles Manson. If you guys didn't know, that's breaking today, or late last night. Charles Manson, the hippie cult leader of the family, whose mass killings in 1969 obviously dominated headlines, and we've known about him for years. He has died at the age of 83, so we're going to talk a little more about that with some of our true crime people in the newsroom. So a lot of different topics today. We hope that you're enjoying the mishmash of different subjects and how varied it can be. But for now, take a look at this. If you're in New York City, or you're maybe going there, or somehow it's relatable to you, this is a great press conference for you guys to kind of check into about security in New York.
Various locations along the route also. You will see our vaporweight dogs and other canine dogs on both the balloons and during the route. We will have mounted officers assigned. We will have teams assigned with our radiation detective devices. We will have aviation assigned to both venues, a ship assigned to each one of the venues to make sure everything check on rooftops. This has been a real combined effort, putting this together, security effort between Manhattan North operations, Manhattan South operations, and our counterterrorism forces. We are working closely with all our law enforcement partners that work in New York, together with a lot of various city agencies that have combined. We've sat down together with Macy's, numerous meetings starting since last year, to make sure that this is a safe venue. Come out, enjoy the day. But once you're out there, if you see anything suspicious, there will be a cop on every block. Go to that cop. Say something. Don't be afraid. Say, maybe it's nothing. Let us investigate it. So I can't end it any better than saying, if you see something, say something. Thank you.
Start with some questions about Thanksgiving events. All right, any questions about Thanksgiving?
Any questions about Thanksgiving? Juliet?
Yes. The people who come, will they still be able to get their spots on the street as early? I see them sometimes 4 or 5 in the morning. Can they still do that?
Yes, that's not going to be an issue. I mean, we're there at 5 o'clock and there are people lining up already. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. So, Lisa?
Commissioner, will there be any type of bag checks or additional bag checks for people going into the parade route?
Not on the parade route itself, but if you're sitting in any of the seats along the parade route, then they'll go through a bag check.
Forward into that area during this balloon blow up? Are you allowing strollers in that area, or
Strollers,
yes.
Yeah, strollers can go into the balloon viewing area. Rich?
Can you give us some idea of how many officers are going to be involved, either like a percentage of increase, or if you can't give us raw numbers?
Many.
Wow.
Guys, I don't know about you, but this crocodile footage is crazy. I almost want to take a full screen, but I don't want to bounce out of New York too soon because it might be of relevance to some of you from officials. But yeah, it looks like officials down in Hollywood, Florida are still working on getting this crocodile. And I was asking some people in the newsroom, but I actually don't know the difference between a crocodile and an alligator. If you know offhand, write it in our live chat and let me know, because I'm curious if someone's an expert on reptilian animals in Florida, anywhere really, but in Florida. No, I'm serious. Calex says it's probably a 6 to 8 footer. That was a zoom in shot, pretty clear, of that crocodile. It looks like they're still trying to get him, and every time they come close, something happens with their net or something in there. Obviously, they know what to do. Their roles to kind of collect and apprehend, I guess you would say, these animals. But Kellex saying crocs have pointy noses, gators have round snouts. Okay, gosh. Someone was saying it was a physical nose thing. They're using some sort of instrument that I think they just use down there. These catchers, like almost
like a old school
net.
Cowboys.
Yeah, almost like a lasso.
Yeah, like a lasso.
But it's I guess it isn't a net. It's like a rounded capture type of thing. Yeah,
Fish.
pretty crazy,
Like
right?
they're going fishing.
I love these.
Where is this? Florida?
This is in Hollywood, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah,
Florida.
which is of course Florida. But I know I wish we had some Floridians in here to talk more. I mean, we do, but they're probably really busy.
They're probably in Florida.
It's south of Fort Lauderdale. I've seen this before. We've taken in something from Hollywood, Florida before. South of Fort Lauderdale, right on the water, north of Miami Beach. And that's that right-handed feed right there. I know. Look at the zoom out. A bunch of people still on the beach checking it out. I mean, I think bystanders find that pretty interesting. Iran saying both crocs and gators can live in both salt and fresh water. That's interesting. I actually didn't know. You think Everglades, you think these like murky, national park, swampy, lakes and bodies of water, but never really thought about the differences really in depth. But you see something like this, and you're like, wait, I need to know more about these guys. So it looks like he kind of keeps getting washed out a little bit, and then keeps coming back in, and they get close, and then it looks like officials are also keeping some of the beachgoers at a safe distance, of course, as they attempt this capture. Pretty crazy. Now you're entertained, right?
No, now I'm entertained.
You're like, what is going on?
No,
it looks like Fitz is going out on a story soon, so I'm not sure we'll get him today. But we'll get him another day. We'll get him another day. Thanks. Oh my gosh.
Dawn, the hero.
My favorite thing.
Shout out to
Delivered
Joe.
to me. Shout out to our faux dog Joe.
Faux tart.
You guys,
Joe,
I'm telling you, I
got
get my
some
bag
Dorito.
of chips, I get my popcorn when there's a show, and the crocodile capture
You want in?
is a show. Are we gonna get
I
him?
don't want it, but
Come on, come on.
I
We
know I
need
want
you.
you. I
We
do
need
want
you,
you.
Fitz.
Okay. Sure?
We're
For a
live.
limited time only.
We're gonna grab him quickly because I want Fitz to talk a little bit about his story. Fitz, we've been watching this crocodile capture and
I don't know.
simultaneously.
I don't know if I can follow that.
Well, just to get a little check in on what Fitz is working on, let's bring it back into the studio.
So what's going on with the crocodile?
The Croc is attempting to be captured, or officials are attempting to capture. I know, passive tense. Officials are attempting to capture this crocodile off the coast of Hollywood, Florida. They've been trying for a bit now. They're keeping beachgoers away, and they've been kind of getting close and then retracting, and the whole thing ensues. So interesting. We're gonna
You know what
keep
they
that up.
need?
What?
They need a crocodile hunter.
Oh, rest in peace.
I know, Steve Irwin.
It was his anniversary of his death recently.
I know. That's why I was
Yeah.
thinking of him. We
Relevant.
used to watch that show all the time.
I bet.
We used to love it because he would put it. That's not why you called me over here. But,
But hey,
what we're doing today, on the end of last week, in regards to all of the attention that was given to the sexual harassment story up on Capitol Hill, there was something that kind of got looked over, and it was the release of a FBI report. And the FBI report basically is entitled "The Study of Extremist Groups and the possibility that those extremist groups would be targeting police officers." the Congressional Black Caucus now has fired off a letter to the FBI, basically questioning whether or not the FBI is going to be using tactics such as the kind that were used in the 1960s against the civil rights movement. Basically, they're concerned that the thrust of this report is tying in civil rights protest groups like Black Lives Matter and others to so-called violent extremists who are targeting police officers. Now, we know the incident that happened in the summer of 2016 where Dallas police officers were killed by a man. However, under testimony on Capitol Hill, Jeff Sessions was asked about this by a member of the Congressional Black Caucus and was asked to identify any civil rights groups that he knew that were working with violent extremist groups, and Sessions could not. He also said that he had not read the report, but that he insisted that the FBI would follow the letter of the law in dealing with any investigations that have to do with civil rights organizations. That answer so far has not been good enough for CBC. Congressional Black Caucus has now fired off another letter to Christopher Wray, who's the director of the FBI, wanting some further clarification of this. Now, we know that the FBI has also issued reports on white extremist groups. This appears to be a complementary report to that one. However, the question here is some of these groups that are mentioned in the report in regards to African Americans are 30, 40 years ago. Is that a good correlation when you're dealing with white violent extremist groups, which are operational and have made their presence known as much as this summer when we've had violence in Charlottesville, Virginia, and a woman died, to referencing groups that existed 30, 40 years ago. So that's kind of the question right now. Why did the FBI choose to title this report in such a way? Does it have any current examples of this happening? And why did they not fold this in a different way than they did? So it's created a big question mark around some African American leaders as to what the FBI's real end game on this. Are they merely making law enforcement aware that they are looking at this, or are they actively right now involved in surveillance, law enforcement methods looking into what the CBC will say is legitimate civil rights organizations? During the 1960s, through Freedom of Information Act, we now know that the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover in the 60s used means to surveil members of the civil rights, movement in ways that violated their rights. Martin Luther King was wiretapped. There were other means that were used to collect information. J. Edgar Hoover, documentation shows, believed that the civil rights movement was an effort by the communists in the Soviet Union to subvert the United States. So he took extreme measures, going over the line in many cases, in monitoring these groups and looking into their activities. So the concern from the Congressional Black Caucus right now is, in 2017, is the FBI looking to return to methods from 50 years ago, the methods that have now been deemed violating the rights of, which were legitimate civil rights protesters.
That's a really
so
interesting
that's
pitch.
the nutshell of the
And
story.
you found this out because this report was released this weekend? Or when was it?
The report actually came out in August. However, it is now being disseminated. It is unclassified now. So we were able to see it. However, it is, raising a lot of eyebrows. It kind of got lost in the shuffle of the events of the day, but it did become a big focus of the hearing the other day when Sessions was up on the Hill. Clearly, a lot of the coverage was about the Russia investigation, and clearly a lot of the questions were about Jeff Sessions' inability to remember things. That was the big story. He keeps saying, "I don't recall. I don't recall." In this instance, he did seem aware of the report. However, he said he had not fully read it. It's only 12 pages. It's not a very long.
Lengthy.
You're not talking about a volume of material that you have to go through.
Right.
It's only 12 pages. But he said that while he had not read it, he plans to read it, and that he, at the outset, did not seem to have any major quarrels with the title or the conclusions as were relayed to him. However, he said he will go back and look at it and be very interested, in his words, to go over the report.
So interesting. And quickly before you go, because I know you're running out of here, what would be your first step in tracking down like who or whom to kind of talk about this? Where are you running off to now? Or is that a surprise?
See, this is the part where you want us to tell us how we do things.
I'm so interested in like how he's going to formulate this story because it's an interesting pitch and it's different. Like you said,
I will tell
things.
you, we will have a very interesting story at 5 o'clock.
Okay, that's our teaser.
And you will hear things that you probably did not get to hear the last couple of days about this. I will say that.
So some new.
Because a lot went on last week where this probably did not get the attention in any other week it would have received. So when you tune in at 5 o'clock, how's this for a tease?
Yeah, this is a tease.
So I'm not really answering your question.
All right.
But we will, we will show you the, we will show you the report. We will show you, what it is the Congressional Black Caucus is saying about this, and you're going to see some of this give and take between the Attorney General and some members of the Congress who have some very serious, pointed questions about this.
Very cool, really cool pitch, cool story, and we're happy to have Tom Fitzgerald back on our show today.
Okay.
In the newsroom, he's got to go though, so I'm going to let him go.
I want to know what happens to this crocodile.
I know, we're still showing it throughout, guys. We're probably going to jump back there full screen because this guy has just been eluding officials for the morning.
Where is this?
Hollywood, Florida, so south of Fort Lauderdale, north of Miami Beach, on the coast. Pretty water.
But isn't that where he's supposed to be? So what's the problem here?
I don't know the problem. I think just that he's close in to people and to a beach.
See, Kellex agrees with me. If only Steve Irwin.
I know, I saw that. That was a good one.
I'm with
I can't remember who
Kellex.
said it first. It was the anniversary of his death last week. Is that right?
Right.
Yeah.
But he wasn't killed by a crocodile. He was killed by a
Stingray. That's right.
People forget that. He was doing a documentary on marine life.
He did a lot of adventures.
Which, you would think that would be safer than wrestling crocodiles. And he lost his life. He was speared by a stingray, and I believe it damaged his heart. And they lost him.
I remember. Yeah.
I missed that show. I used to watch that all the time. Yeah.
That's a cool one.
It was. It was.
I'll keep you posted on what happens when you're out on the story.
If I had to choose between the crocodile and these two guys,
Who's gonna win?
I think the crocodile's gonna win.
You think he's just gonna get away, or do you think he's gonna? I'm not quite sure if they're trying to capture him to keep the people safe or to get him back out to the.
I'm not trained in crocodile capture. However, I think if I was given that job, I wouldn't be out there in shorts, bare feet, and a t-shirt.
Somehow
I would be
they know what they're doing, but...
in like one of those suits that they put on to train guard dogs.
Oh yeah, you gotta just hope and believe they know what they're doing, but that's how they're doing
I
it.
would not be wearing that. But anyway, that's besides the point.
Thank you, Fitz, for your insights.
Have a nice
for
day.
Your story. We'll see you soon in the newsroom.
Take care.
Have a great story, guys. It looks like I'm just checking with some of my people here. The comments. That's all we got. So it looks like Mayor Bill de Blasio is still kind of speaking about New York security. We'll take that while we have it and keep up this shot of the crocodile capture because it's bound to be interesting. And then we're going to talk a little Redskins. They are, this morning, just moments ago, hosting their 15th annual Harvest Feast to help feed some of the residents in Prince George's County needy families who need turkeys and who need food for this holiday season. So we'll go over there and chat a little bit about sports and the Redskins tradition with that. So now back over to the mayor of New York on what's going to happen this week vis-a-vis security.
The city law, local law 1, made abundantly clear what inspections had to happen. They should never have changed under city law. In 2012, the previous leadership of NYCHA in the previous administration stopped the inspections. There was a precipitating event in that HUD, U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, changed some of their standards. But even though HUD changed their standards, it did not change the obligation of NYCHA to follow local law 1. That's where the problem begins. This administration became fully aware of the problem in the spring of 2016 and understood fully that the inspections that we had previously believed were happening were not happening. And we quickly restarted them, and we made senior HUD officials aware of what happened immediately. There was no attempt to deceive. The administration and the NYCHA leadership were upfront with HUD as soon as the situation became clear. I will also note that the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District has been looking into the NYCHA situation now for 2 years, and we have fully cooperated with that investigation, and we will continue to. The update for you now is that all at-risk apartments, and it's not all 175,000 apartments that are at risk, it's a subset of them where there's even the possibility of lead being present. And then the law requires that inspections and remediation occur if it's one of those subset apartments and if there is a child present under 6 years old. Once the situation was uncovered, the order was given to inspect all those apartments and to act to ameliorate them. That was done fully by June of this year, meaning it took about a year to go through the apartments. I believe it was 4,200, inspect them and make all the ameliorations in those apartments. Immediately following that, a new round of inspections occurred. And that second round of inspections will be complete by next month. That then will be follow-up amelioration efforts on any apartments that have not already been ameliorated by the end of December. They will be during the first quarter of 2018. But this point is really important. We just went through a full round of inspections and fixes and then started another one immediately. We will be in compliance with Local Law 1 next month, and then we intend to stay in compliance with Local Law 1 every year thereafter. And that is important because what that means essentially is as soon as inspections and amelioration ends for 1 year, you start essentially immediately thereafter for the next year. So it will be a continuous inspection cycle from this point on. Any resources that NYCHA needs for that effort will be provided. I also want to note, you heard the announcement last week that a chief compliance officer will be named for NYCHA starting next month. And I'm pleased to announce that our compliance officer is someone who has served this city well in many posts already, and she in fact grew up in public housing and has a strong personal commitment to the residents of public housing. The current counsel to Commissioner O'Neill at the NYPD, Edna Wells Handy, will begin next month as the Chief Compliance Officer at NYCHA to address the issues that have been uncovered and make sure that nothing like this ever happens again. So I'll sum it up and then just a few words in Spanish before I take your questions on this topic. This was not done right. Couldn't be clearer. Was not done right by the previous administration, was not done right by my administration. When it became clear that things had not been handled properly, actions were taken immediately to fix the situation. Those actions were followed through on completely. All affected apartments were inspected and ameliorated, and we're going to do it again and again. People have been held accountable. You've seen the personnel actions that were taken. Once the situation was thoroughly evaluated, it became clear who we felt should no longer be in the roles they had. Those actions were taken. And the bottom line is the health and safety of our public housing residents is absolutely paramount. This is why we have invested over 4 budgets increasingly in the Housing Authority. This was not the pattern in the past. We all understand the federal government walked away from the Housing Authority a long time ago in terms of the kinds of increased funding we needed. The state has played a very minor role. The city of New York has been increasingly putting greater and greater funding into NYCHA, focused first and foremost on health and safety issues. $1.3 billion in capital funding in the June budget to address mold, to address leaks from faulty roofs, to address scaffolding issues and issues of physical plant that might cause danger to the residents of NYCHA, and we intend to keep investing. So we have put our money where our mouth is. It's going to take a lot of work. When I came into office, NYCHA had $18 billion in physical needs that had gone unmet. So we're all playing from behind here, but we will remain committed to making the changes we need and making the investments we need to keep the residents of NYCHA safe. Quick in Spanish. Para nosotros, la salud y seguridad de los 400,000 residentes de NYCHA es un asunto muy serio. Del 2014 al...
All right, guys, we're going to go back to this crocodile capture off the coast of Hollywood, Florida, because it's pretty interesting. It looks like they're getting closer. And I was just talking to somebody in the newsroom who says, and some of you guys were mentioning this too, these are obviously creatures that can go in both saltwater and freshwater, and they're meant to be in swamps and freshwater. Sometimes when they have leeches attached to them from the swamps, they naturally sort of have the drive to go into salt water so they can get all of that rid from their bodies, and then they leave. But these guys looks like they're trying to capture him because he's not supposed to be there. Not only is he threatening some of the beachgoers, but they're trying to get him back to normal where he's supposed to be. So pretty cool. Some close-up of sorry, I'm trying to effort these sound issues I know you say that we're having. Close-up of this creature. There he is. Yeah, check it out, guys. We're gonna leave it on here for a second.
He's swimming now, he's surfing. Right there.
in some fashion, and I was asked. In preparation for whatever press conference I was at, I received a briefing, and the briefing was that the inspections had been happening. I think consistent with the assumption of everyone in City Hall and NYCHA that because the inspection regime had been consistent for years, that it had continued. Later, we found out that we had been misinformed.
So when was that later date? When were you?
I don't remember the exact date, but somewhere along the time when the chair notified the residents.
So the month, you don't recall the month?
No, I do not.
Okay, so given that, if eventually you did learn about it, so how is it appropriate for your administration to continue to file the same lead paint certifications even after you learned that you were in this harm?
Because the chair notified HUD immediately, and that's been confirmed by the regional director of HUD. And first, most importantly, found a problem, notified the federal authorities of the problem, cooperated in every way with the U.S. Attorney as well, notified the residents, and then proceeded to do the work which was most important for people's lives, get the inspections done and get the fixes done. The certification process proceeded, which governs over everything that we do with HUD, with the assumption, which I think is an understandable one, that HUD had already been alerted to that specific problems, but all the other elements of the certification were continuing to be appropriate and binding. Let me, last one for you, and then I'll go over there.
So you've talked about the 4,200 units, but the federal rules require that there's an annual inspection of all 50,000 units.
Let's separate that question. It's a very good question. Local Law 1 here, federal rules there. Local Law 1 has been consistent now for over a decade. Federal rules have changed over time. I think it's part of the confusion is the interplay. We are cooperating with the Southern District in terms of determining what would be appropriate compliance with the federal rules. So it's been a fully cooperative process. Obviously, we are looking forward to a resolution of the process in the next few months. That very well may include a federal monitor, which is something we would be ready, of course, to accept. We have federal monitors with the NYPD and with the Department of Corrections. We would be ready to accept a federal monitor with NYCHA because there's a real issue here. But in terms of determining how the federal rules should be applied in this context, that would be a subject of that negotiation and will be resolved in whatever final settlement occurs.
You spoke about holding folks accountable last week when there were calls for the chair to step down, not only from elected officials, but also from tenant leaders. NYCHA has a very strong advocacy in the tenant leaders. You called it a cheap stunt. Do you find that these tenant leaders don't have any merit in saying that she should step down?
Look, I think we have to look at everything that's happened in public housing for 4 years. This is 400,000 people who I think were given a raw deal for a long, long time. We came in the beginning, and Chair Olatoye has been crucial to all the changes and improvements and investments we've made. We recognized that NYCHA was on the verge of financial collapse and addressed that through a series of budget actions and investments.
7-0 Broward, Skyforce 7-0. Would you want to just get him loaded on this thing, or are we good?
Yeah, guys, kind of an interesting capture here. Let me know what you guys think, if any of you are familiar with how this whole process goes down. I was reading American crocodiles and American alligators pretty much share similar waters, but mostly they're south of Miami in Everglades National Park, which we were talking about earlier. But this one came up to Hollywood, Florida, which is just south of Fort Lauderdale. Looks like our chopper is zooming out after the capture has been completed. So at least we get to see all of it. I'm glad you guys got to see it. Yeah, I know some of the exciting chases, right? We got the pickup truck, stolen pickup truck in Oklahoma. We got the crocodile. Always with the animal videos, you got to take those. So anyway, guys, glad we get to see that out to completion. We're gonna go back to New York now, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about Charles Manson, guys. He, of course, the hippie cult leader known for the killing spree in 1969, has passed away at 83, and so we're going to talk a little more with a true crime researcher and newsroom person who's going to come over to chat with us in a second. But yeah, stay on with us here, guys. We're going to go back to New York and kind of keep the show rolling on.
Yeah.
This was only done in the wake of this DOI report and the public attention to it.
Again, the U.S. Attorney has been on this for 2 years. I can't emphasize this enough. I understand why DOI's action is sort of the shiny object that people are focused on. Let's put the horse before the cart. The U.S. Attorney has been working on this issue for 2 years. We've been cooperating with them for 2 years. They're the ones that brought to light that there was a problem that had to be addressed. We acted on what they found. And we then had to figure out exactly what happened, why it happened, who was responsible. We had to get the whole picture before we decided what to do on the personnel level. And that did not happen overnight. There was a lot that had to be very carefully analyzed. We also had to make sure that all the work in the meantime continued. So when we got to the point of having a definitive view of what to do, that's when we acted.
You're saying it had nothing to do with the DOI report or the public?
I'm saying when it was time to take those personnel actions, we took them.
So when you learned about the non-compliance inspections, you launched new inspections.
Right.
Did you tell the tenants in NYCHA that for 4 years there hadn't been inspections, and if not, why not?
No, it's very clear. And this is why we wanted to put it in black and white for everyone to see. A mistake was made. When the mistake was caught, the order was given, go out, inspect these apartments, fix these apartments. The people who needed to know that most were the tenants. They were told these inspections are coming. I don't think going back and saying, hey, you need to know that back in 2012 something was done wrong in the previous administration and it's only been caught now. I don't think that necessarily helps anyone. I think what helped people was going out and doing the inspections and doing the amelioration. In the meantime, and this is the important part, and Dr. Palacio will add if I leave anything out here, the city of New York and the entire healthcare world of New York City is constantly screening any children under 6 for any indication of lead, whether they're NYCHA or anywhere else. So the efforts to protect children were going on during this. Do you want to add to that?
So under state law, physicians are required to do child blood lead levels for children at ages 1 and 2 years old, and up to 6 years old if there are additional risks assessed by the clinician. Physicians send those results in, labs send those results into DOHMH, to the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene. Department of Mental Hygiene has actions that they take very swiftly when children with elevated lead levels, actually all the way up to age 18, if they get results that are the result of a clinician identifying something else. And those actions, depending on the level of the appropriate, if the level is sufficiently high at 15 micrograms, actually will go in and do very detailed investigation of the living situation, be that NYCHA or another non-NYCHA building or another home. We'll work with the landlords if there's any lead hazards identified, and we'll have issue commissioner's orders to have any abatements that are required. So the public health apparatus has been working uninterrupted throughout this time period.
I understand that there are fail-safes with the public health apparatus, but I mean, if you're, put yourself in the parent's shoes. If you're a parent and this hadn't been going on for 4 years, I mean, don't you think they have a right to know that there's this situation that maybe they want to put some extra attention to?
I understand the question, but I want to combine what Dr. Palacio said with the action then taken by NYCHA. Because children are constantly screened, God forbid a child had exposure, there was going to be a way to catch that and act on it. But I want to remind you how infrequent it is nowadays that any child has exposure that has a lasting impact. And the most important thing was to do what we could do for the apartments that we knew right then had to be addressed, and that happened swiftly. So I'm absolutely comfortable saying, in retrospect, I wish I had publicly said what I said in March turned out to be wrong, and here's the plan, we're doing it. I'm very happy that NYCHA went and did the most important thing, which was to go out and do it. But in the end, because there is such a strong public health apparatus focused on protecting kids, I believe that continued to make sure the kids were safe despite the missteps that happened. Go ahead, Gloria.
Mr. Mayor, can you talk a little bit about what the compliance officer is going to be tasked with doing, and then I have another question.
Sure. Look, another structural reality. I want to remind people, I think, again, the lack of investment in NYCHA for a long, long time was a huge mistake. And I think some of the components that should have been in NYCHA a long time ago weren't, including having a chief compliance officer. This mistake, this problem, led us to say, what's structurally wrong here? How could this have happened? I mean, this is like a city unto itself. It's 400,000 people. A lot happens every day that does work in NYCHA. It's a very complex organization to run. How did something like this get missed when all these other things do happen every day? And what was determined was there needed to be that central compliance officer to be a check and balance. So that's why we wanted a compliance officer in place. It would literally be, the role will be for Edna to review everything that is an obligation for NYCHA under federal, state, city law, and to make sure that all laws are being complied with and all documentation is being presented to oversight entities. So something like this couldn't happen again.
Chair, do you think Chair Olatoya knowingly lied to the federal?
Absolutely not. Again, she runs what is the equivalent of a major American city. She depends on folks who work for her to give her good information. Every one of us in executive office has had moments when we were not provided accurate information by someone down the food chain. It's not a good situation, and it should be addressed every time. But she acted in good faith. And in further evidence of that, the moment she was given the real facts, she called HUD voluntarily, proactively, and said, I need to tell you something's wrong here. She was the one who called to tell them. She didn't wait for someone else to reach them. She called them and said, something's wrong here. We need to fix it. We want to report it to you. And the regional director has affirmed that publicly. So there's one or two more, and then we will go to other topics. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Why is the chair not here today? And also, she apparently did call HUD proactively, but that decision, which is addressed in the fact sheet, to then submit the larger or sign off on the larger compliance. Was there a lawyer, an attorney, or someone of SDY who advised her to do that?
She has already spoken to these issues in numerous interviews. That's why she's not here. Clearly, there's an internal process. And the compliance refers to a whole host of issues that the federal government is concerned about. Something went wrong in this one. But in the other areas, from everything I'm seeing, there was consistency. Again, all I can say is it was caught, it's being addressed. We're going to have a compliance officer to make sure it doesn't happen again in the future.
What was the lead level of children? Do we have
Say again?
The lead levels in those
We'll follow up on that. Go ahead.
Mayor, can you assess for us whether you think that DOI Commissioner Mark Peters did the right thing by releasing this? You respond to his call for an outside monitor, citing not just this issue, but other issues that he claims he's found.
Look, the pertinent authority here is the federal government. Let's be very clear. The federal government's been on this for 2 years. I think it's important that agencies respect their fellow agencies. So this is the top level of government that is the funder of a lot of NYCHA's operations and has legal oversight responsibility. And for 2 years, they've been involved on this issue. I think that should be respected. And again, we are in very collaborative communication with the U.S. Attorney. There will be some kind of resolution over the next few months. As I said, that could include certainly a federal monitor, and we would accept that and work with that monitor. That's where the real work is happening. Yeah.
Is there any truth to the report that you're irritated, annoyed with Commissioner Peters, that you'd like to see him leave?
I'm not going to speak about any personnel matters. I said that when I met with all of you the day after the election. When it's time to talk about personnel, we'll talk about personnel, but I have nothing to say about personnel today. I'm going to do you and Grace, and then we're going to other topics.
Just to follow up on two things that you mentioned, are you currently, is the city involved in negotiating a consent decree then with SDNY?
I'm going to speak more broadly. I'm not a lawyer, first of all. I can say we've been in ongoing discussions with the Southern District. They have been collaborative. We have fully cooperated. There will be some kind of resolution. I'm not going to predict what it is. That's a question for the Southern District. But there'll be some kind of resolution. And we will work for a positive and constructive resolution. I think that's a few months away.
Just to clarify, on the 50,000 apartments, is it the view of the city that it wasn't actually the obligation during those 4 years to have done inspections annually of those 50,000 apartments? Because that's what it seems like the federal rule says.
Well, again, let me separate local law 1 from the federal rule. I think it's important. I'm not going to conjecture on the view of the city because we're in discussions with the federal government right now. So I want to be very clear. That is its own universe at this point. It has been happening for 2 years. We're going to complete that process with the federal government. We will come to a common definition of what our obligations are, and we will act on that definition. Local law 1 is what we control, obviously, compliance with, and is the definition set forth by our law. That's what we are complying with now. We did that starting with the initial notice that the chair gave to residents. That led to inspections, that led to amelioration. That was completed in June. It started again immediately. The inspections will be finished next month. Amelioration will be done by the end of the first quarter 18. We will be in compliance with local law 1 again.
It's not clear what the rules are. You're negotiating what they were both for the past and present. It's just not clear because the paperwork that gets filed every year, the issue here was that there was a rule that said there had to be annual inspections of these 50,000.
First of all, there were changes in the federal government's own guidance over time. Second, there's obviously an effort on both sides to come to a common interpretation, which is not unheard of when you're trying to take rules and laws and put them into action. So that's what the discussions are about.
A question about the 2 children with elevated lead levels from paint or in apartments where there was lead paint. Are they still in those same apartments? Have their families been moved?
Let me note, obviously for confidentiality, we're not going to go into too much detail. Most importantly, they're not showing any health consequences. I don't know, and we can find out if they're still in that apartment or other apartments. But again, all apartments now have gone through that first cycle of inspection amelioration. If they were still in a NYCHA apartment, they would go through it again every year from this point on.
I can speak sort of in general terms without disclosing any confidentiality. When children are identified with elevated blood levels, the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene continues to follow those children, works directly with their healthcare providers, continue to monitor their blood levels to make sure that those lead blood levels are declining over time until they decline below a certain threshold. And that's the same case for any child, regardless of where they're identified. I can say that those 4 apartments have been abated.
Thank you. Okay, other topics.
Mr. Mayor, I have a two-part question. The first is this. The day after your election, you said that education would be the thing that you focused your passion on. And I wonder if that passion extends to secular education in yeshivas and what you intend to do about the complaints that many yeshivas are not in compliance.
There's a full investigation going on, and there's a series of discussions going on with the yeshivas to address that problem. It will be resolved. I can tell you that I do feel passionately the issue must be resolved, but I also want it to happen in a productive way. I want the changes that are necessary to happen and to be bought into and to actually reach children. And we're approaching in a way that we think will achieve that goal. There's still more facts to uncover too. It's not going to be too much longer before we'll be able to give a fuller picture.
The second part of my question is this. The complaint was filed against 39 yeshivas 2 years and 3 months ago. In that time, DOE, despite saying it would take a month, has gone to only 6 yeshivas. I wonder if you think that's really sufficient, and if this was a public school that was out of compliance, would you have found that to be acceptable?
Well, they're apples and oranges. We don't run the yeshivas. We don't run private schools. We need
money.
But let me make the point. We want to achieve lasting change. And every yeshiva is different. Every private school is different. Every religious school is different. We need to come up with an approach that will change this once and for all. I look at it this way, Marcia. All these children are our children, right? It doesn't matter if they go to public school, if they go to a religious school, they go to a private school, they're the future of New York City. They all need a strong secular education. And if it's not happening in some places, we have to fix it. But I don't want a Band-Aid. I don't want a superficial fix. I want a lasting fix. And that means we need to come up with a formula that will work, that will be bought into. And even if we're not there on that day to monitor, it will actually happen consistently. That is real change, not press release change, but real change. That's what we're trying to put together right now. There's still more facts to gather, but we will have a plan to address this issue.
We've gone to 6 schools when
Again, I don't know the facts of how they've proceeded on that.
2 years and 3 months.
I believe the approach we're taking will work. Yeah.
Kirsten Gillibrand recently said that Bill Clinton should have resigned over the Monica Lewinsky scandal, that if it had happened today, there would have been a very different reaction. What are your thoughts on that? Do you agree with the assessment?
If it happened today, there would have been a very different reaction. There's no question.
Do you think he should have resigned?
I don't think you can rework history. I think if it happened today, if any president did that today, they would have to resign.
I wanted to get the reason for which you asked or rejected, I guess, the nomination of the state court judge nominated former JCOP head or actually current JCOP head, I should say, Horvitz to this judicial commission. You rejected the nomination. It's sort of your purview to do that, but I didn't understand what the reason was.
We look at a lot of factors. We want a whole range of different experiences. We want diversity in every sense. We put together a committee with a lot of different people, and the pieces have to fit. I don't get into the weeds of that, but the group that has been overseeing the whole process of judicial nomination and selection looked at all the facts and decided he didn't fit. It's as simple as that.
The first person I understand that you've rejected in this one.
It happens.
You recently expanded your goals for affordable housing with the idea of 300,000 units by 2026. The House tax bill that passed on Thursday eliminated private activity bonds, which were supposed to finance that. So how's the bill going to affect your plans, and if it passes, will you reduce that 300,000 number?
Well, I don't do hypotheticals. Right now, our job is to fight this tax plan, and it's, it's very much up in the air what's going to happen on this plan and what's going to be in it in the final analysis. So there's 2 ways to address the issue. 1, defeat the thing wholesale, which would be my preference, or 2, take some of the worst elements out of it before it's over. And remember, Chuck Schumer's going to have a bite at this apple, who fully understands how important that financing mechanism is to affordable housing in this city and all over the country. So there's a lot to play out here before this is resolved. So I'm not going to change any plans until we see what happens. There's no question if we lost that opportunity to finance, it would hurt our plan. But I will tell you, the plan has been at other points challenged, like when the 421A law was not renewed. We found ways to compensate. So it's too early to say. I'm very concerned about it. We're going to fight hard, but we would be ready to adjust if we had to. Yes.
I I know you just published an essay talking about your upcoming trip to Iowa, but I'm hoping you can talk a little bit more about why you're going, the purpose of the trip, who's paying for it, and if we can expect more travel like this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to turn to my witness here, Austin Finan. The Medium Post is up for all to see. Thank you, Austin. I will do my damnedest to, there's a few things you asked that maybe aren't in the Medium Post, but I really think once and for all, I'm trying to say to you guys, I've had this conversation with you for a year or two, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm telling you why as clearly as I possibly can. When there's something I think that's important, I will do my best to do it. For example, the number one thing will be taking back the House and Senate in 2018. I don't know what that looks like yet. I just don't. I'm certain people will ask for help in different ways. I'm going to do my best to help because I think it's mission critical for New York City. As for this trip, it's being paid for by the organization, the sponsoring organization. Yes, Melissa?
Mayor, as you may know, 2 a.m. the morning of November 9th, there was a very brutal slashing and domestic violence incident inside a nonprofit shelter in Harlem run by women. Can you talk at all about what steps your department is taking to improve security after a registered sex offender who committed this attack allegedly was sent to the shelter without any warning to staff? Christina Quinn told us, and stop me if you're familiar, but she basically told us that had they known that this person was a registered sex offender, had they been told, which is the city policy, you're supposed to notify the shelter, they might have been able to take steps to help better support this family.
I want to caution, I think there's a lot of facts that are being uncovered in that situation. So I'm not going to speak to who was notified of what when. The big picture question is, how do we make all shelter facilities as secure as possible? The structural thing we did, and you have a good sense of the history here, the NYPD did not used to supervise shelter security, did not used to train shelter staff. That was a major reform we did in the last few years, and I want to thank Commissioner O'Neill, and I want to say this in a moment of praise you deserve. He did not hesitate to say, even though that's more work for the NYPD, we're going to step up and do it. That's made a big difference. But we're constantly trying to figure out how to do better. And we want, obviously, information to flow to shelters appropriately, but I can't speak to the specifics of that until we have more information. Sure.
Can you tell me what your general thoughts are about sending registered sex offenders to live in family shelters where there are children?
Again, I'm going to defer with this. There are laws governing how we are supposed to handle things, and we have to abide by those laws. I wish there were no sex offenders anywhere in New York City. But once people have served their time, they do have rights under the law, and there are specific stipulations about how they can live and where they can live. It's frustrating for me, but that's the reality. We'll have more to say on it. The Deputy Mayor will follow up with you. Okay, Rich.
So, Mr. Mayor, when we hear of a politician going to Iowa, we don't think of a Grant Wood painting usually.
We think of what? A Grant Wood painting?
Did you ever see it? You know what I'm talking about.
You mean the farmer with the pitchfork? Yeah, okay.
Right. Just, we think that maybe...
You know you're so culturally sophisticated, Rich.
Anyway, I think that we begin to think of something beyond just the mayor, not just the mayor, something beyond the mayoralty, maybe the president. Are you thinking of those things?
I'll answer it again. I answered as recently as yesterday at Gloria, and we asked each other how many times more to be asked, so I'll answer again. I had one goal, which was get reelected mayor of New York City. I'm very honored to have been reelected. I think the results were quite strong and clear. I'm going to be on the job till December 31st of 2021. But I'm going to try and get a lot of other good things done in the meantime that I think have a big impact on New York City. Gloria, I saw your hand up. You done? Okay, go ahead.
Mayor, on the topic of police body cameras, which you've in the past touted as a tool for police transparency and accountability and also to build public trust, the current body camera policy makes it easier for police officers who've been involved in shootings to view footage than it does for civilians involved in those incidents for the CCRB to view that footage. The policy ultimately leaves the decision to release footage in the hands of the police department and ultimately the police commissioner. And as you heard today, the police are planning to release the footage from the last trust to.
Okay, wait, this is like a 12-part question. What is the core of what you're asking?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
You had the police commissioner say that they're planning to release the footage from the two shootings that recently happened. But do you think it's toward your goals of accountability and transparency to leave that decision in the hands of the police department?
I do. I think it's a balanced approach, and I think New Yorkers are starting to see the positive effect of footage being put out in close proximity to when an incident occurs. And you're going to see it a lot more. I think this is the right, a lot of work went into determining this policy, and Commissioner, obviously, if you want to join into the answer, feel free. It was, I thought, a very thoughtful effort looking at what happened in departments all over the country that have had body cameras, what seemed to work best, what seemed to strike the right balance. I'm very comfortable this is the right approach, and I think the proof will be, as you regularly see the footage come out, that this is going to be a level of accountability and transparency we've never seen before in this city. See, there are a couple more.
Cities like New York, or major cities with progressive leadership, investigators and civilians, it's fairly easy to view footage. A civilian, once they file a complaint, does not have to go through a cumbersome FOIA process. And a review watchdog doesn't have to ask the police department for footage. They have direct access to it. And New York doesn't follow that protocol.
Again, we are a city of 8.5 million people. So in addition to the moral and legal issues, there's massive logistical issues too. I think we've struck the right balance. There is a mechanism for people to see the footage. But again, you've already seen the proactive open release of footage in a very major incident. You're going to see more of that. I think that's what the core of this issue is. Okay.
Mayor, after the Harvey Weinstein allegations came to light, you urged anybody who had accepted money from him to promptly return that money. There are some different but sexual misconduct allegations against the comedian Louis C.K., who headlined a fundraiser for your re-election campaign, and I'm wondering how comfortable you feel about the money that was raised off of an event.
I don't think you can say money raised off of an event is the same standard. I understand the question, but a donation from someone who did something wrong is one question. The fact that hundreds of people went to an event that someone appeared at before anyone knew he had done anything inappropriate, I think that's just not the same standard.
Do you have any reaction to the stories that have come out? I mean, you guys, you seem
It's
friendly.
very troubling. It's very troubling. I'm glad he came forward and admitted it, but I don't understand what he was thinking. It's not acceptable behavior. It's as simple as that. Okay. Melissa and then David, we're out.
I know that the police commissioner addressed the controversy at Brooklyn College about the police.
Yes.
There's a Sergeant Ed Mullins tweeted, it's short, I'll read it. Another
I always look forward to all those tweets.
I'm sure you do. Another anti-police campus with no common sense, active shooters, acts of terrorism on campuses, and now remove the police. It's time people get what they ask for.
Well, that's inappropriate. I long since gave up trying to understand him. That's just an inappropriate statement, particularly for someone who's supposed to be involved with protecting people. But here's the bottom line. Our understanding, and we're checking this, is that the action that we're hearing about was not a formal action of Brooklyn College, but of some association within Brooklyn College. Brooklyn College, part of CUNY, controlled by the state of New York, would never, should never, ban police officers from any presence on the campus. That makes no sense whatsoever. And I don't think they did. I think we're getting a distilled version of the facts. That's not the whole story. But even if it's a student group, for example, I think it's misguided. I agree with the commissioner 100%. Our officers being on campus helps protect people. They need familiarity with campus. And more importantly, and you started to allude to this, Commissioner, they need relationships with people who are there to serve, including students. So it makes no sense to me. Yes.
I want to know what your sort of reaction would be to this, what I assume will be a criticism that you'll get for the Iowa trip, which you just came back from vacation. You're making an announcement that you're going to Iowa in December in the midst of all this attention to shortcomings at NYCHA that you've acknowledged. Why is this the appropriate time to talk about leaving town for, partisan political reasons when you have this issue at home?
I just don't buy that way of thinking. I was officially on vacation last week after, a re-election campaign, but I was working much of every day. The trip in question is basically a 24-hour trip. I just don't buy the notion in the 21st century that if you leave the boundaries of the 5 boroughs, the government ceases to work. I would argue, I understand all of you have the mission of finding out the thing that's wrong and reporting on it and demanding change. But I would remind you of everything that's right every single day in this city. This is a huge apparatus that functions in many ways very well and has great leaders like those around me. I'm going to go to Washington, I'm going to go to Albany, and sometimes I'll go other places. And I'll be constantly in touch with people, and we're going to be addressing a whole range of issues, as I do every day from when I get up till the end of the day. And every mayor before me has done the same thing. So you can ask it 100 times, but it doesn't change the core reality. If you find a problem, we're going to address the problem. But there's other things that have to be worked on at the same time. What I tried to say in the essay was, if we don't recognize the danger to New York City coming from Washington and do something about it, then we're leaving our own city at its peril. And the changes in Washington do not occur simply by showing up and lobbying a senator in the hallway. They have to happen in the states where we can change the very makeup of the Congress. So I just think that's the essence of things, and I'm going to keep working on it. Marshall, I'll give you a final one.
This is an easy one.
Yes.
Do you have plans for your inauguration? Is it going to be a big celebration? A
No.
small celebration?
It's going to be modest. We don't have specific plans yet. I have a news flash, breaking news. It will be on January 1st. Yes, it will be at City Hall.
What are your plans for Thanksgiving?
Thank you for asking. I'm going to be with family. I'm going to my cousin's house, and we're going to have turkey, stuffing, all those things, and our annual incredibly aggressive wiffle ball game. We're going to show that wiffle ball is a contact sport. Thank you, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, guys, thanks for sticking with us on those updates in New York. That was actually in Flushing, New York, with Mayor Bill de Blasio, of course, addressing, we're losing that shot, so we'll come back in, addressing the inauguration, how he's going to keep it modest as they move into the next few years of leadership in New York, but of course, addressing security as we go into this busy week with the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade on Thursday and all of that, of course. But I didn't want to stop without talking about Charles Manson, you guys. We were talking about this earlier, the mastermind behind the 1969 murders. Here's a picture. Let me get this up for you. Here we go. And I really want to incorporate, I think she's coming along soon, our assignment editor and also true crime lover and researcher, Judith Ayers. I think she's going to come over here and chat about it. But this is a picture of him later in his life. And he was in prison for a long time, up for parole, and he always came back up in the news. And then eventually, Sunday night, it broke that he had eventually succumbed and died in prison. I know you guys are talking movies, and that's what we were chatting about before, but we could also incorporate this because this was a big story in the forefront of Hollywood life, of the world there in Hollywood. I'm going to scroll through some of these pictures that we have. Some of his slayings, of course, horrified the world. This is what we got, guys. Recent-ish pictures of Charles Manson in his later years, in his older age, now dead at the age of 83. So that's what's breaking. Okay, so we're going to answer some questions. First of all, I was mentioning this before, Thanksgiving plans. I'm actually staying around DC. I'm from New England. I usually go up to see some family. This past weekend, my family came to me, so I'm gonna hang out and work and possibly do some we'll see, football and or Redskins coverage on Thanksgiving itself, because I'm gonna be working throughout this week as normal. So I'm hanging around. So I'm here in Washington, which is where we are. We're in Upper Northwest Washington, DC, inside our digital newsroom. As for movie, I know you guys have been chatting about Wes Anderson and all those guys. Also, some of my favorite people. Kevin could also talk to you about this at length. I know that there's some of his favorites as well. My favorite of all time, when somebody asks me that, is It's a Wonderful Life. And I'm not just saying that because it's the season, and we're going into the holiday season and Christmas season. It's always been one of my favorites. The direction, the story, and of course, just, I guess, I don't know, all the feels and the emotion from that movie. It's been a staple, in our lives and in my life for the holiday season and as normal. I'm trying to answer some more things. What else did you guys say? Thanksgiving, movies. Lots of chatter on this stream. Yeah, I didn't see Justice League yet. We mentioned that at the beginning of the stream with Risa, our social media editor. We were talking about that because she actually saw it over the weekend and had her own review on that. And you can also read Kevin's review it's in depth on our website, guys, fox5dc.com, and on our and in our YouTube channel here. It's all part of the stream. So I'm going to show you quickly inside the White House press briefing room, guys. I'm just hearing that this isn't slated until 2:30 today, so we'll probably bring it to our Facebook page instead of to our YouTube stream. And all right, I'm going to work on the volume for now because I'm seeing that there's an issue with my volume, and we'll be back. Hey guys, I am back. I'm not going to end it just yet. We usually end around 2 o'clock, but I brought tea in to fix a little bit of my mic issues. So I hope that some of you are hanging on for a second. We just found out word that the White House press briefing is getting pushed even later to 3 o'clock Eastern time, not even 2:30. So we're going to be putting that hopefully on our Facebook page, not on the stream here today, but brought to you in to look at the mics. Hopefully you guys can at least hear me to the end of the stream. We're just going to talk about a couple things because they were saying it was a little bit low.
Oh.
We're not quite sure what the issue is, but I know you guys can hear me in general. And I want to talk quickly about this. We're going to go to some of this footage today. Earlier, and it's actually sports related, the Redskins guys, they are hosting this really cool annual event, obviously part of Thanksgiving week. It's the 15th annual Harvest Feast is what they call it. And this, you'll see a pan out here of FedEx Field right here in
Landover, Maryland.
Oh. And I've been there, just haven't been lately, but hopefully I'm going again this week. There it is, wide shot pan out. And essentially what they were doing is working to help feed more than 2,500 people and families in the Prince George's County area who need assistance during Thanksgiving, food and turkeys and sides, and giving them a little help for the Thanksgiving holiday.
15th annual. This is excellent. Yeah. So I think basically the Redskins are giving back to families in need, which is a outstanding thing. And
which is awesome because they have a lot. They hold a lot of weight. They have a lot of money, and it's great to help people who don't.
Redskins are, I think, the third most
really
expensive team.
Yeah.
In the entire world, somewhere in the billions. But Redskins, they former Redskins players also have their own charity job. I know Santana Moss has his own thing, and also who else? There's one more. I think it was Santana Moss. He came last year, and he had like his bus for the kids, basically.
Oh, okay.
It was like a bus, and then it was like a whole entire entertainment center in there, and then kids can like play video games and
lots of players giving back. It's nice.
Yeah. And the Redskins actually came very close to beating the New Orleans Saints.
I know. If anyone caught the game, if anyone was a fan, it was a crazy.
It was a very exciting game. Went into overtime, and apparently there was I think a holding penalty or intentional grounding.
Yeah.
And today the referees want to overrule it, but of course it doesn't affect anything. But I think overall the ruling, the referees in the NFL have been very, very bad this entire season.
As someone, I think one of our anchors said this morning, they were like, "You got one job, you got to do it right."
Right.
And that is to ref accurately in the game. And people had some contention with.
There's a bunch of games too that I watched yesterday where the refs missed a bunch of calls and they just call like unnecessary. I don't know. I think it's almost like rigged to me, but I know it's not. But yeah. Well, back to the Redskins though. They are. What are they? 4-5 now for the season. They're third in NFC East rankings. But they've got a lot of potential. Yesterday's game was really good. And New Orleans Saints is one of the better teams this season. I think second to the Eagles in the NFC. So they're Redskins still got it. They still got some juice. A bunch of injured players, but I think. They always say next year.
They do say that. And Bob and I were mentioning earlier today they play again twice in 1 week. This Thursday night, Thanksgiving night, against the Giants.
My team, the Dallas Cowboys, however, they play 3 games in 11 days. So Sunday they played yesterday. They're gonna play again on Thanksgiving Thursday.
Yeah, they do play.
And then they play again Sunday. The day after. So it's gonna be a tough stretch. We're already injured, and we got crushed by the Eagles yesterday. If you're an Eagles fan, I'm sure you guys are very happy. But yeah, it's I think my team can still make it. We still have hope. But it's gonna be tough. If we finish 10-6, I think that's playoff. We're playoff bound, but that leaves us with one more game to lose, and we have to win the next 5. But if the Eagles lose their next 6 games, then they can be like 9-7, but that's pretty far-fetched.
Quickly, you're looking at a really cool wide pan out of FedEx Field where, again, we're going to have people there for the game. Thursday, we this is the largest physical, I believe, stadium structure in NFL.
Is it?
It's either by physical or by people, but I think it's physical.
Oh.
It might be the end of our stream. I think they go back to it. No, that's it. We'll go back. Yeah, this was coming in live earlier this morning, so I just wanted to show you this. But really, the point of this is that the team's giving back.
Yeah, shout out to the Redskins
They're
for doing a good deed.
Since 2013, rather, the Redskins have actually gifted more than 1.2 million pounds of packaged and fresh food and 520,000 pounds of turkey to families in need. And again, this is in Prince George's County, Maryland, so they're helping the people that they are within.
Shout out to PG County.
Shout out to PG County. The turkeys are provided by Shoppers, the company, and it's a good time, good event for them.
I like what the Redskins are doing. I'm sure other teams are doing similar things, but just within our area, I think it's a wonderful thing, helping people in the DC metro area. You know,
totally.
Everybody's got to eat on Thanksgiving.
Absolutely, it's cool, and we have him on our morning show a lot. But Tailgate Ted, who's in close relation with Fox 5, he does his own tailgate, and he preps food that corresponds with the opposing team. Anyway, he's also doing a great charitable event on Thursday for the actual tailgate before the night game. He's feeding 125 first responders and their families for the Thanksgiving type of feast. So he'll be cooking it up. He'll be giving and also spreading the joy, the love, the Thanksgiving spirit of this week. So
I live near FedEx Field, and there is a Shoppers right next to us.
Oh yeah, there's the truck.
So I'm sure,
that makes
good
sense.
Good to see Shoppers in there with the assist. FedEx Field is pretty nice though. I like the field. It's a large circle, but I went to the Dallas Cowboys and Redskins game a couple weeks ago when it was raining. If you guys are going on Thursday's game, make sure you tailgate, do it all up. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm gonna be attempting. I'll let you guys know once I find out. But I'm gonna be attempting to weasel my way in to possibly cover some of Tailgate Ted's stuff and bring you guys some cool digital coverage of that. Speaking of all that, don't forget to we'll pull out of this for a second to follow us, guys, on the different platforms because we're gonna continue to bring you lots of cool digital coverage on Instagram. We'll tweet out cool web stories and other bits of information, breaking news, and we're even on Snapchat and of course Facebook, one of our biggest platforms, Fox 5 DC, on all those platforms, and our website fox5dc.com, where you can see all the written stuff and other pictures and the video that we kind of embed into our stories, so you can see it all there in one. To address one of your questions, hang on. Am I vegetarian or vegan? Kind of random, but we were talking about turkey. I'm neither right now. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I've done different things, and I enjoy all things food related.
Same here, yeah. I tried being vegetarian, but I lasted like a week. But sometimes I think it's good to just balance out what you're eating. Like some days, I'll go without eating any meat at all, and then I'll just have like salads all day. But then the next day,
it's good to streamline, to do different things. But I will tell you, I'm inundated with turkey after we've had some really fun office gatherings and parties and tons of food. But I'm kind of like, I'm good now. I think I'm gonna be good on Thursday, hanging out.
Yeah, Thanksgiving
at the tailgate or whatever I go to. But thanks, guys, so much for chatting with us on the stream. Thanks, as always, for being awesome, loyal viewers, for hanging out, for having great questions and curious minds, and being interested in a variety of different topics. That's what we try to do, is bring you, obviously, all the live stuff and cool video, including that crocodile catch, which was really neat today.
Crocodile. Did you ever find the difference between crocodile and alligators?
I didn't look at the exact... Yeah, absolutely, Calix. Thanks for hanging out with us today. I didn't find the exact thing, but people were saying it was the snout and the actual physicality of the reptile. And then, of course, where they're focused on, where they mainly hang out and live and stuff. But they are freshwater normally. They can be in saltwater as well. This was an abnormality, so they had to kind of get him out of this basically beach area in Hollywood, Florida, and get him back to the normal freshwaters that they live in, dwell in, and can survive in. Cool. Thanks so much, guys, for chatting. This has been really fun. Lots of different topics.
Thanks, guys.
We'll be back again, as usual, this week. Hang out with us again tomorrow and Wednesday. Possibly some different type of coverage on Thursday for you, and I'll be here, I believe, so Friday as well. So we'll be hanging out. T will help me with the IT. And for those of you who said my mic issues were fixed, I don't think you didn't really tweak anything.
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yes, I did.
Where'd you go?
I'll tell you after we get off.
Secrets of the IT world. I was like, suddenly it's fixed. I don't know what happened.
I can't let Molly take my job. You know.
I know. I'm getting pretty tech savvy, I gotta say.
I need my job security.
You guys saw the stuff that I have in front of me. There's a lot of technicalities, a lot of cool screens, a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, a lot of technical issues as well. No shortage of that.
Yeah, but thank you guys. I'm glad you guys could hear at the end. Have a great day, Schulte. I will also say It's a Wonderful Life is also one of my dad's favorites, so it's cool to be at that connection. A lot of parents love that movie. We're talking about movies today. Not just holiday movies, but all movies. We'll talk more entertainment, guys, and of course politics and other breaking news tomorrow. We have a cool shot of the Capitol right now. It's like sort of in this shadow from the sun, so we'll take you there, and we'll see you again tomorrow with more coverage, hopefully including our really cool video on that new art installation that we visited in Northeast DC. All right, guys, take care. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right, thanks, guys.